How did this young boy go from being dead to fighting demons as a spirit detective to eventually becoming a fearsome demon himself? That's right, guys. I'm talking about Yusuke Urameshi from Yu Yu Hakusho. It's a fantastic anime series that has everything from brutal battles to one of the most adorable love stories. Yu Yu Hakusho fans have been itching to get a remake because, well, it honestly deserves one. Honestly though, we don't know if we'll ever get a remake, so why not discuss the entire story of the anime series? So then, let's get started. The first episode kicks off by showing us a crazy road accident, which sadly kills a young boy. The 14-year-old boy who just died is Yusuke Urameshi. And yeah, that right there's our protagonist. Yusuke is a rebellious kid with an awful attitude. Everyone just hates Yusuke, and no one really expects anything from him. Anyway, Yusuke's soul leaves his body, and the dude just can't believe he's actually dead. Can you imagine? The main guy is already dead. Or is he? Anywho, after Yusuke becomes a goddamn ghost, he thinks about how his day went before the accident. Yusuke went straight to his school where he met his friend Keiko, who's also his class representative. And unlike Yusuke, Keiko is a bright student who actually cares about, studying. After school, Yusuke goes back home, where he meets his alcoholic mother, Atsuko, who doesn't give a damn about her son. Later, Yusuke runs into his brawling rival, Kuwabara, and beats the crap out of him in the middle of the street. Moving ahead, Yusuke realizes that a kid is about to get hit by a car, and that's when he jumps in front of the car. You can say his day didn't go very well. We then shift back to the present, as Yusuke's soul floats in the air and he meets Botan, a cheerful Grim Reaper from the spirit world. Botan tells Yusuke that no one expected a selfish and rude personality like Yusuke to save a kid, so his death was completely unexpected. Because of this, the spirit world hasn't actually prepared a place for Yusuke. What a tricky situation. Fortunately though, Botan offers Yusuke a deal that will give him his life back. At first, Yusuke thinks that the world would be better off without him, but later, he sees Keiko, Atsuko, and even Kuwabara crying at his wake. So, Yusuke decides that he wants to live and tells Botan that he's ready to accept her mysterious deal. Then, Botan takes Yusuke to the spirit world where she can, complete the formalities. The second episode kicks off with Yusuke and Botan arriving at River Styx, which is basically a boundary between the human and spirit worlds. Botan takes Yusuke to meet Koenma, the son of King Enma, the ruler of the spirit world. Yusuke thinks Koenma must be a massive and scary figure, but actually, he's a toddler. Yeah, that's a good one, but what is he actually? Wait, you're for real? Oh. Anywho, toddler Koenma gives Yusuke a golden egg and tells him that the being inside this egg will feed from Yusuke's energy. If Yusuke's energy is positive, a spirit beast will come out of the egg and will take Yusuke to his living body. But if Yusuke's energy is negative, a monster will come out to eat off Yusuke's soul. But of course, it will take some time for the mysterious egg beast to grow. Meanwhile, Yusuke decides to stop his mother from cremating his body. At first, Yusuke tries talking to Keiko and Atsuko through their dreams, but that doesn't work. So, Yusuke takes over Kuwabara's body for an hour and reaches out to Keiko. Yusuke was always a pervert to Keiko, so he touches Keiko's breasts to make her believe that it's him. I'm sure that there are much better ways to do this. Anywho, Yusuke tells Keiko that he'll return soon and asks her to stop Atsuko from cremating his body. Keiko then visits Atsuko to give her Yusuke's message, and surprisingly, Atsuko says that Yusuke's body is already getting warm. Okay, that's good. The third episode kicks off with Yusuke and Botan waiting for Yusuke's spirit beast to hatch. But then they see Keiko being attacked by some hooligans from another school. Fortunately though, the Giga Chad Kuwabara and his friends step in to protect Keiko. Yay! Of course, this leads to a fight between the dudes, which ain't a good look. So, Mr. Akashi, a teacher at Yusuke's school, calls in Kuwabara's group. The teacher declares that if any of them gets into another fight, Okubo, one of Kuwabara's friends, will lose his school job. However, Akashi is a sadistic bastard who hates Yusuke, and he hates Kuwabara just as much. So, Akashi secretly arranges for Kuwabara to be attacked again, hoping he will fight and get expelled. Surprisingly though, Kuwabara refuses to fight back and takes a heck of a lot of beating, so Okubo doesn't lose his job. Akashi is obviously frustrated, so he forces Kuwabara's group to take a science test, and if any of them scores below 50, Okubo will lose his job license. God damn it! Expectedly, Kuwabara studies like he's preparing for an Ivy League university. However, Akashi still doesn't stop sending thugs after Kuwabara, so the guy can't even focus on studying. Meanwhile, Yusuke, who's watching all of this nonsense in his spirit form, possesses a girl so he can protect Kuwabara from the attackers. Well, the day of the test arrives, and fortunately, all the efforts pay off as Kuwabara answers enough questions to pass the test. But Akashi doesn't stop there. He secretly sabotages Kuwabara's answer sheet to fail the poor guy. However, the school principal realizes what's happening, and eventually he allows Kuwabara to stay in school and Okubo to keep his job. Thank God! Later, Botan explains that when Yusuke took over Kuwabara's body, he was able to transmit his emotions to Kuwabara. Interesting. The fourth episode begins with Koenma sending an investigator named Sayaka to see how Yusuke is doing. Sayaka then visits Yusuke and questions the boy about Keiko. After talking for a bit, Sayaka thinks that Yusuke and Keiko's relationship is, well, complicated. Anyway, Sayaka continues to observe Keiko and wonders whether her feelings towards Yusuke are one-sided. Ooh, I don't think so. Moving on, Keiko visits Yusuke's house to check on his body. After finding out that his body's still warm, Keiko leaves the house. But right after she leaves, a pyromaniac sets the house on fire. Keiko quickly realizes that the fire is at Yusuke's house, so she enters the burning building to save his body. However, the building starts to fall apart and the poor girl gets trapped. Jeez, Keiko just can't catch a break. Elsewhere, Sayaka tells Yusuke that he can save Keiko by throwing his spirit beast egg into the fire. But of course, doing so will sacrifice his chance to return to life. As expected, Yusuke doesn't even think twice and immediately throws the egg into the fire. And well, it works. The egg clears a path and allows Keiko to escape. Kuwabara also arrives and helps Keiko carry Yusuke's body out of the burning building. Once this is all over, Botan tells Yusuke he must return to the spirit world since he sacrificed his egg. Damn! However, Koenma appears and explains that Yusuke made the correct decision. Yusuke selflessly chose to save Keiko without hesitation, and that's something that should be rewarded. Koenma then says that Yusuke has proven his worth and announces that Yusuke will be given another chance to return to life. Wait, so the entire egg thing was nothing but some BS? Wow. In the 5th episode, Koenma tells Yusuke that his revival must happen the next day when his soul and body align. If Yusuke misses this opportunity, he'll just have to wait another 52 years! Jesus, that's a long time! Also, for this revival to work, someone who cares about Yusuke must transfer their life energy by kissing him. Koenma then instructs Yusuke to enter the dreams of his closest people and tell them that he needs a kiss. It's a weird thing to ask, but Yusuke does it anyway. The boy appears in the dreams of Keiko, Kuwabara, and his mother. And guess what? Keiko agrees to do it and visits Yusuke's body, but unfortunately, she hesitates to give Yusuke the kiss of revival and leaves. Oh, come on, it's just one kiss! To make things worse, Keiko is called away to the hospital to be with her injured mother. So, yeah, Yusuke's chances of revival are actually really thin right now. Even Botan tries to help by delivering a message to Keiko through her mother. And just when Yusuke thinks it's all over and he's dead for good, Keiko arrives just before midnight and kisses him. Yeah! The kiss successfully transfers the life energy and revives Yusuke. Our boy is back! After returning to life, Yusuke sees that some thugs led by Sakamoto are targeting Kuwabara. Apparently, Sakamoto wants Kuwabara to harm his friends and even threatens a kitten to pressure the guy. What a douche! Anyway, Kuwabara refuses, and before things get ugly, Yusuke arrives and defeats the gang. He even knocks out Sakamoto. But in the next moment, a small demon comes out of Sakamoto's body, which means he was possessed. The demon tries to fly away, but Yusuke catches it. Up until this point, Botan has been watching everything under a disguise. Now, she reveals herself and takes the demon away from Yusuke. At the same time, Koenma also appears and officially appoints Yusuke as a spirit detective. It's basically a non-paying job, where Yusuke has to hunt down rogue demons or spirits for the underworld.
Now I'm going to commission you. You are for the moment the spirit detective of Earth. And no, it's not just a fancy title. You'll get cool powers. I've come up with them myself.
Yeah, it's a scary-ass job. But before Yusuke can ask more questions, Koenma and Botan return to the spirit world, along with the demon, of course. The 6th episode kicks off with 3 mysterious criminals stealing the artifacts of darkness from King Enma's vault. These 3 demon thieves are Kurama, Hiei, and Goki, who've now escaped to the human world. Of course, these artifacts can't be any good, because, they have darkness in their name. So, Koenma asks Yusuke to recover the stolen artifacts before the thieves use them to do something nasty to the human world. That's the first official spirit detective assignment for Yusuke. Obviously, the fight won't be easy, so Koenma teaches Yusuke a new attack called the Spirit Gun. This attack allows Yusuke to fire a beam of energy from his finger, kind of like a bullet. Damn, that's a cool ability. There's one problem with this ability though. Spirit Gun can only be used 1 time per day. Oof, that's a long-ass cooldown. And to make things worse, Yusuke tests out the ability on one of his asshole teachers who was trying to frame him for stealing. So yeah, he can't use any more spirit gun for the day. Moving on, Yusuke begins his search for the thieves, and at one point, he sees a child fainting out of nowhere. The child's spirit comes out of his body and starts to fly away, and Yusuke decides to follow the spirit. Meanwhile, Koenma learns a bit about the criminals who stole the artifacts, and yeah, they're a bunch of evil jerkbags. And Koenma is scared because King Enma will return in a week, so Yusuke must find the artifacts before that. Elsewhere, Yusuke continues to follow the spirit and finds Goki, who's collecting the spirits of children in something called the Orb of Bast. Yeah, the orb is indeed one of the stolen artifacts. Goki is here with the two other crooks, but Hiei and Kurama leave Goki alone, thinking that their friend can handle Yusuke. Goki then pulls out one of the children's souls from the Orb of Bast to eat it. Jeez, dude! Of course, this pisses off Yusuke, and our boy kicks Goki so freaking hard that the scumbag pukes out the soul. At first, it seems like Yusuke has the upper hand, but then Goki transforms into his demon form and overpowers Yusuke. Yup, that's a demon alright. Unfortunately, Yusuke has already used the spirit gun for the day, so he's in a real pickle right now. The 7th episode picks up right where the previous episode left off. Yusuke is giving it his all to fight Goki, but he's just not having a great time without his spirit gun. In fact, the dude nearly gets killed. However, Goki then sees some lights approaching the fight scene, so the scumbag thief escapes. Turns out, the lights were coming from none other than Bolton, who has temporarily taken a human form to help Yusuke. Fantastic! After saving Yusuke, Bolton gives him the Demon Compass, which can track demonic energy. Bolton then says to Yusuke, "Hey, dude, we only got like a week to finish this job, so hurry it up, will ya?" The next day, Yusuke finds Goki again to go for a second round. This time, Yusuke actually uses his frickin' brain and forces Goki to open his goddamn mouth and fire the spirit gun directly inside. That's not a really good snack, is it? Surprisingly, Goki is defeated and the orb releases all the children's souls. So yeah, Yusuke has successfully recovered the Orb of Bast. Soon after, Yusuke uses the Demon Compass to track down the second thief demon, Kurama. But surprisingly, Kurama refuses to fight. In fact, he promises to return the Forlorn Hope artifact after 3 days. That's weird, but Yusuke agrees to it anyway. Kurama then reveals that he was once a powerful fox demon named Yoko. He escaped to the human world a while ago and planted his soul into an unborn human child. Kurama then says he was reborn as Shuichi, and even though it wasn't planned, Shuichi grew attached to his human mother Shiori. Sadly though, Shiori became very ill. So now, Kurama wants to use the Forlorn Hope, which grants a wish in exchange for the user's life. Of course, Shuichi wants to save his mother in exchange for his life, but Yusuke, being the softy that he is, offers his own life. However, the artifact senses the selfless nature of Yusuke and Shuichi, so it heals Shiori without taking anyone's life in exchange. Aww. In the end, Yusuke retrieves Forlorn Hope, and now it's time to find Hiei, who's holding the Shadow Sword, the final stolen artifact. The 8th episode begins with Hiei learning about Goki and Kurama's defeat, But instead of hiding in some corner, Hiei wants to reclaim the stolen artifacts by using the Shadow Sword. And once that's done, he plans to conquer the human world. Keep dreaming, dude. At school, Yusuke and Botan talk about the Shadow Sword, and Keiko sees them together and gets jealous. Meanwhile, Hiei uses his third eye, aka the Jagan Eye, to observe Yusuke and everyone else around him. Not gonna lie, that's kind of a cool ability. Later, Hiei stalks Keiko and kidnaps her using the Shadow Sword. Terrible! Of course, Yusuke and Botan track down Hiei, where they see several humans under Hiei's mind control. Keiko is also there, and Hiei asks Yusuke to return the Orb of Bast and the Forlorn Hope in exchange for Keiko's safety. Expectedly, Yusuke hands over the two artifacts, but instead of releasing Keiko, Hiei activates a Jagan-controlled eye on Keiko's forehead. Oh, no honor? Alright. The prick Hiei reveals that the antidote for Keiko is within his sword, but Yusuke must defeat him to get it. The fight begins, and Hiei's demonic speed and transformation overwhelm Yusuke. Shockingly, Hiei is able to restrain and injure Yusuke. But out of nowhere, Kurama arrives and helps Yusuke recover from his injuries. Thanks to Kurama, Yusuke gives Hiei one hell of a beating and fires a spirit gun to finish off the sick three-eyed bastard. Hiei dodges the attack, but guess what? The blast reflects off the Forlorn Hope and strikes Hiei from behind, knocking him unconscious.
What happened?
Simple. I won.
Luck isn't on Hiei's side, it seems. Regardless, Yusuke now has all three stolen artifacts, and he uses the sword's antidote to save Keiko. So, you can call that Yusuke's first successful mission as a spirit detective. The 9th episode begins with Koenma assigning Yusuke a new mission. This time, a demon named Rondo wants to steal the power of Genkai. Apparently, Genkai is a master of martial arts who's searching for a worthy successor for a tournament. Of course, Rondo might go after Genkai during the tournament, so Botan convinces Yusuke to participate in the competition as well. Right after that, Yusuke arrives at Genkai's mountain dojo, where he sees hundreds of other fighters. However, Yusuke gets surprised seeing that Kuwabara is also a participant. Moving on, Genkai announces that the winner of the competition will inherit her power. But it won't be easy. For the first round, all contestants draw papers from a pot, and only those with sufficient spiritual power can turn the paper red and move on ahead. Obviously, Yusuke and Kuwabara pass the first round. Next, they play 3 spirit-based game trials: a punching machine, rock, paper, scissors, and karaoke. Yeah, these are clearly not popular choices for a martial arts tournament. However, these machines measure participants' spiritual energy rather than their physical skill. As expected, these tasks are like a walk in the park for Yusuke and Kuwabara, so they pass. Now, the 20 remaining contestants must cross a dangerous forest filled with traps and ugly-ass demons. Without thinking much, Yusuke takes a direct route and encounters a demon bat leader named Baldock, who asks Yusuke to buzz off. But Yusuke refuses to back down and defeats Baldock quite easily, in fact.
How can you go faster than Baldock can go?
Meanwhile, Kuwabara has already reached the exit along with 6 other contestants. Yeah, dude's real fast. Genkai congratulates them for completing the task and says she can't wait any longer. But as she's about to leave, Yusuke comes out of the forest and explains that he got a bit late because he was fighting the wannabe Batman Baldock. Genkai gets impressed that Yusuke defeated one of her strongest guardians, so she allows him to move on to the next round. The 10th episode kicks off with Yusuke getting all set for the next trial. In this round, several competitors will have to fight each other in a dark-ass room, and they're allowed to use any sort of tool or weapons. We now meet the competitors. First, there's Musashi, a demon slayer, and Shorin, a spiritual practitioner. We also have Kibano, a martial artist, and Chinpo, a wanderer from China. That's not all, as the competitors also include a gosh dang ninja named Kazemaru and an assassin named Kuroda. And of course, there's Yusuke and Kuwabara in the mix as well. Gosh, that's a lot of people. Anywho, the trial starts and the first match is between Kuroda and Kazemaru. At first, it seems Kuroda has the advantage, but surprisingly, Kazemaru unleashes energy from his palm, which seems like a spirit gun, and he bodies Kuroda in a single move. Meanwhile, Kuwabara learns about Botan and the fact that Yusuke has become a spirit realm detective. Quite a revelation, huh? Yusuke also tells Kuwabara that he has to catch Rando and stop him from obtaining the secrets of Master Genkai. Moving on, in the second match, Shorin ends up defeating Chinpo, and it's time for our boy Kuwabara to go against Musashi for the third matchup. Expectedly, Musashi toys with Kuwabara and beats the crap out of him. Jeez. But still, Kuwabara stands strong as the fight goes on. Kuwabara materializes energy into a sword and performs a powerful slash, defeating Musashi in a single move. And finally, we have the last match of the fourth trial, which is between Yusuke and Kibano. The fight shifts in favor of Kibano, as he is using a helmet that helps him see in the dark and act as a shield. As the fight goes on, Kibano lands a powerful blow on Yusuke, which makes him fly across to the other side. Damn! The 11th episode continues the fight between Yusuke and Kibano. Our boy Yusuke isn't having the greatest time against him. Then, Yusuke decides to use the lit cigarette that was thrown at him by Genkai before the match. How? Well, he cleverly places the cigarette inside Kibano's robe during the fight, allowing him to track his enemy's location in the dark. Ooh, wait, that's smart. This trick works like magic, and Yusuke lands a decisive blow to defeat Kibano. Sheesh. After the fight, Yusuke learns about his next match, which will take place in an ancient war site. And this time, Yusuke will have to fight Kazemaru. The ninja Kazemaru wastes no time and throws several powerful punches at Yusuke, who's still tired as hell from his previous fight. Still, Yusuke manages to graze Kazemaru's face, pushing Kazemaru to get freaking serious. Kazemaru then uses his shuriken technique, an attack that can track Yusuke's energy. So yeah, it's nearly impossible for Yusuke to dodge these shurikens. Moving on, Yusuke tries to hide behind a tree to, not get hit. However, the shuriken explodes after hitting the tree, which injures Yusuke. Gosh! Fortunately, Yusuke is still in the fight, and out of nowhere, he charges straight toward Kazemaru while the shuriken is still chasing him. Kazemaru thinks Yusuke wants the shuriken to make contact with both him and Kazemaru, but this isn't just some reckless suicide attack. At the last moment, Yusuke drops into a marsh and the shuriken blasts straight into Kazemaru's face. Take that, you bloody ninja! And just like that, Yusuke wins the semifinals match. The 12th episode shows that there are only 3 fighters left in the tournament, Shorin and our dudes Kuwabara and Yusuke. Kuwabara is set to fight Shorin, who, well, could very well be Rando in disguise. Anywho, the match begins, and surprisingly, Kuwabara starts dominating Shorin. Kuwabara starts beating the crap out of him, which is kinda unexpected if Shorin is truly Rando. Suddenly, Shorin shocks everyone by using techniques that he apparently stole from masters he previously killed. One of those techniques allows him to shrink Kuwabara's body to the size of a palm. Ant-Man? Shorin catches Kuwabara off guard and crushes Mini Kuwabara with his bare hands. Not only that, but Shorin also throws poor Kuwabara out of the ring and wins the match. Yusuke is clearly pissed, but there's no time to shout naughty words because it's time for him to fight Shorin. As soon as the match begins, Yusuke starts throwing punches at Shorin like a madman. Shorin then uses the Wind Cutter ability, which basically turns the wind into some sort of slicing blades. What's worse is that this slicing attack continues to hit Yusuke even after the initial strike. Obviously, Yusuke refuses to back down and starts moving past the wind cutters while covering his face with his arms. Eventually, Yusuke lands a strong blow to Shorin and slams him to the ground. But then, Shorin transforms into his true demon form, confirming that he is indeed Rando. The 13th episode kicks off with everyone shocked to their bones after seeing Rando in the flesh. Yusuke tries to injure Rando with his punches, but it doesn't work. Apparently, Rando can only be harmed by attacks infused with spiritual power, but Yusuke is fresh out of spiritual energy. Rando then uses Life Force Thread to restrain Yusuke and slam him into the ground multiple times. Rando even tries to feed Yusuke to some demon fish by dropping him into the pond. However, before Yusuke can become a snack for the demon fish, a light comes out of Kuwabara's body and travels directly to Yusuke. Now, Yusuke's spiritual power is fully recharged, so he comes out of the pond and injures Rando with a spirit gun attack. Rando is furious, so he chants the spell that can shrink down Yusuke's body. However, since Yusuke was in the pond just now, some pond scum is stuck in his ears. It means that he can't hear crap, and well, the spell needs to be heard to work on someone. So the spell backfires and shrinks Rando instead. Basically, Yusuke pulled an Uno reverse card without even realizing it. Anyway, Yusuke uses the opportunity and delivers an elbow drop on the mini Rando like some badass wrestler. Thanks to Yusuke, Rando is defeated, and Master Genkai agrees to teach Yusuke her secret technique. The 14th episode begins with Keiko searching for Yusuke, who's been away for a month while training with Master Genkai. After a while, Keiko sees Yusuke returning from the mountain after completing his brutal training. Now that everything is back to normal, Keiko, Yusuke, and Kuwabara go to a movie. However, at the theater, Yusuke notices that they're being followed by a gang. So, Yusuke and Kuwabara send Keiko inside the theater and confront the gang members, who, by the way, are totally possessed by demons. Yusuke and Kuwabara beat the hell out of these gang members, but they just won't give up. Right then, Yusuke uses his new technique called Spirit Shotgun, which he learned from Genkai. The attack is basically the spirit gun, but instead of a single shot, it fires multiple energy beams. Now that's what I call an upgrade! Once all that is over, Botan arrives to explain to Yusuke his next mission. Dude cannot catch a break! Botan explains that the 4 saint beasts want to move into the human realm, which, just so you know, ain't that good. Botan reveals that if the holy beasts are not stopped, demons will take control of the human realm using parasites known as Makaichu, aka Makai. These creepy parasites enter through the mouth and possess the host's body. Shockingly, the same bugs were controlling the guys who just attacked Yusuke and Kuwabara. That's clearly annoying, so to defeat the Makaichu bugs, Yusuke must destroy the bug flute that's controlling them. Simple enough? Far from it, because Yusuke must enter the gosh dang demon city to find the flute. Anywho, Botan shows Yusuke and Kuwabara a secret path, and the duo eventually enter the demon city. As soon as they enter the city, a horde of demons attacks Yusuke and Kuwabara. Right then, Kurama and Hiei arrive to help our boy fight the demons. What? Kurama and Hiei explain that they are here on Koenma's orders. Oh, okay, that makes sense. After a brief bickering session with Hiei, the group heads towards the castle to find the flute. Inside, they encounter an ugly creature who informs the guys that they must undergo the judgment of the Gate of Betrayal. In the next instance, the creature pulls a lever that causes the ceiling to drop on Yusuke, Kuwabara, Kurama, and Hiei. Now, the entire group is forced to hold the ceiling up to not become human ketchup. The 15th episode kicks off with Yusuke, Kuwabara, Kurama, and Hiei still holding the damn ceiling. It's not an ideal workout situation, and the ceiling can drop on them at any moment now. But then, Yusuke notices the lever that the creature pulled to activate the trap. Yusuke then asks Hiei to reset the lever because he is the fastest. Yusuke, Kuwabara, and Kurama keep on holding the ceiling while Hiei slashes the creature's big, ugly eye and resets the lever. Now, the group moves forward to find the bug flute. Deep inside the fortress, the guys encounter Genbu, one of the 4 saint beasts. Genbu is really powerful and arrogant enough to ask Yusuke and his friends to attack together. However, Kurama steps forward to analyze exactly what Genbu is babbling about. The fight begins, and it turns out that Genbu can merge his body with rock and travel through it. For a while, Genbu dominates Kurama by attacking him from unexpected directions. However, Kurama has had enough of Genbu's cocky personality, so he pulls out Rose Whip, which spreads rose petals and their scent throughout the area. It's one heck of a Valentine's gift. Moving on, Genbu tries to hide within the rocks, but Kurama tracks him and slices his body from head to toe.
How did you find me?
Damn! Kurama believes that Genbu is dead, but the loudmouth beast reassembles his body and launches yet another sneaky attack to injure Kurama. During the fight, Kurama notices a red glowing stone within Genbu's body. Apparently, the stone is the source of Genbu's power, so Kurama grabs the damn thing and destroys it, which, well, also kills Genbu. The 16th episode kicks off with Kuwabara revealing his Reiki sword technique, which surrounds his hand with energy and forms a sword. Interestingly, Kuwabara learned this technique while Yusuke was training with Master Genkai. Kuwabara explains that he can even extend the sword to make it as long as a spear. Impressive! Since Kurama is injured after fighting Genbu, Kuwabara wants to take on the next Saint Beast with his sword. Meanwhile, Botan contacts Yusuke and tells him that Makaichu bugs are spreading rapidly, so they should hurry the hell up. After that, the group hears a loud howling, which is coming from Byakko, another one of the saint beasts who is actually a tiger. Much like Genbu, Byakko is also an arrogant prick who tries to taunt Yusuke and his friends. Obviously, this pisses off Kuwabara, so he decides to fight Byakko alone. In an instant, Byakko pulls out strands of Kuwabara's hair and blows on them, which creates 4 enchanted beasts. Kuwabara struggles to defeat these beasts initially, but then he leads the enemies to a narrow path. Kuwabara then uses his Reiki sword and pierces through all 4 beasts at once. However, the enchanted beasts still continue to attack Kuwabara, so our boy uses his energy like a rope to tie them up. Now that the minions are all dealt with, Kuwabara slashes Byakko with his Reiki sword, but it doesn't work. Instead, Byakko absorbs Kuwabara's energy and increases his size, which makes Kuwabara weak. Oh man! But despite being drained of energy, Kuwabara gathers his remaining strength and charges towards Byakko. The 17th episode continues the fight between Kuwabara and Byakko. Kuwabara is weak, but he manages to force his Reiki sword into Byakko's mouth. However, Byakko absorbs the energy from the sword again. Of course, this makes Kuwabara even weaker, and he collapses to the ground. But this time, Byakko doesn't grow larger in size. Instead, his body expands sideways like he's some cushion. At this point, Kuwabara realizes there's a limit to how much energy Byakko can absorb. So, Kuwabara gets up on his feet and releases all of his leftover energy into the cheap tiger knockoff. Byakko absorbs the energy, but it's too much for him to handle. As expected, the energy inside Byakko explodes and he falls off of the cliff. Meanwhile, Botan contacts Yusuke to nudge him to handle the situation as quickly as possible. Then, suddenly the entire area begins to shake. It turns out Byakko is still alive, and he calls Yusuke and everyone else into his chamber, the Room of Hell. Yusuke and his friends enter the Room of Hell and realize that the entire chamber is filled with sulfuric acid, which can melt even bones. Jesus! Kuwabara then steps forward to finish off what he started. The second round begins, and Byakko uses his secret technique called Maiko Blast, an attack that can destroy anything it touches. Kuwabara tries to dodge the blasts, but the jerk tiger Byakko forces Kuwabara into a corner. However, Kuwabara leaps into the air and uses his Reiki sword like a freaking pole to get closer to Byakko. Surprisingly, Kuwabara lands a direct punch on Byakko, which knocks the cocky bastard into the sulfuric acid.
His sword. He used it like a vault.
I'm just happy I got to.
Now that's one powerful punch. Kuwabara, on the other hand, doesn't fall into the acid, so yeah, he's still alive. The 18th episode kicks off with Botan trying to control the whole Makaichu situation, but it's getting really messy. Meanwhile, Yusuke gets even deeper into the castle, and after a while, they come across the chamber of the third saint beast, Seiryu. The group enters Seiryu's chamber, and the beast appears before them in a flash and warns them to turn back. Surprisingly, Byakko is also inside the chamber. Yeah, this douchebag somehow still survived. Byakko asks Seiryu to share some of his energy so the tiger can regain his strength. However, Seiryu asks Byakuya to buzz off. Instead of helping his tiger friend, Seiryu uses his ice dragon technique to freeze Byakuya in place. After freezing him solid, Seiryu kicks Byakuya's body and shatters it into pieces. God damn! Even after seeing that scary-ass display of power, Hiei steps forward and challenges Seiryu. Seiryu makes the first move and attempts to freeze Hiei, but Hiei dodges every attack with his incredible speed. Not only that, but Hiei slashes Seiryu 16 times in a single second. And that seems like the extent of torture that Seiryu can handle, because he just kinda explodes. Well, that was quick. Immediately after Seiryu's defeat, the fourth holy beast, Suzaku, is revealed. Suzaku is an even bigger scumbag than his other beast mates, and he wants to target Keiko to hurt Yusuke. Suzaku sends some Makaichu-infested people to Keiko's school so they can kill her. The 19th episode kicks off with Yusuke and his friends heading toward Suzaku. Meanwhile, Keiko is trying to escape from Makaichu-infested people. Fortunately, Botan arrives just in time and pulls Keiko into hiding. At the same time, Yusuke and the gang keep moving forward and see a bunch of zombified people who are basically Suzaku's mindless slaves. There are a lot of these little green zombies, and they're blocking Yusuke's path. So, Hiei asks the group to form a ladder with their bodies so Yusuke can climb Suzaku's tower. Well, the strategy works, and Yusuke enters the tower while the rest of the group stays outside. Inside, Yusuke comes face to face with Suzaku, who is itching to fight and is holding the bug flute. Yusuke starts off by launching a series of super fast punches at Suzaku, but the Saint Beast blocks all attacks with just one hand. Suzaku then reveals his Ankoku Raijin Ken ability, which allows him to draw lightning from the sky and concentrate it into his hand. Suzaku unleashes all that energy on Yusuke, which electrocutes the poor guy and knocks him flat to the ground. Gosh! Despite all that, Yusuke manages to get back up and comes up with a strategy. Yusuke removes his shoes and holds them in his hands as insulation, so Suzaku's lightning attack doesn't harm him. I guess Yusuke didn't skip his science class. Of course, Suzaku's attack doesn't work on Yusuke anymore, thanks to his shoes. So, Yusuke uses the chance to land a solid punch on Suzaku.
Of course!
The 20th episode kicks off with Yusuke unleashing even more punches at Suzaku. And in the middle of all that, Yusuke knocks the bug flute out of Suzaku's hand and grabs it. However, Suzaku recovers the flute from Yusuke rather quickly. Of course, Suzaku is furious, so the beast uses his Ankoku Yorojin ability that splits his body into 7 identical clones. Meanwhile, Hiei, Kurama, and Kuwabara are trying to defeat the zombies so they can help Yusuke inside the tower. In the meantime, Suzaku's clones fire lightning arrows at Yusuke, which makes things a bit tricky and painful for the guy. After that, Suzaku tells Yusuke to eat Keiko's heart. If Yusuke does that, Suzaku will turn him into a demon. Yusuke asks Suzaku if he's high or something, and decides to fight the big jokester instead. Meanwhile, Botan and Keiko somehow manage to defeat the infected people and run away safely. Suzaku is pissed that Botan and Keiko are still alive, so he tortures Yusuke even more by intensifying his lightning attacks. While being electrocuted, Yusuke recalls his training with Master Genkai about making his heart one with his energy. Then, out of nowhere, Yusuke releases a powerful wave of energy. The energy blast is so massive that it destroys 2 of Suzaku's clones and injures the remaining ones. Ooh, yup, you're a goner now, Suzaku. The 21st episode kicks off with Suzaku realizing he can't use his lightning attack anymore because he's almost out of juice. Yusuke then unleashes his shotgun ability, but right after that, both Yusuke and Suzaku collapse to the ground as they are exhausted. Yusuke then watches on Suzaku's monitor as Botan is attacked by one of the infected. So Yusuke tries to grab the bug flute, but Suzaku's bird, Murugu, pushes the flute away. After that, Suzaku stomps on Yusuke's hand and kicks him aside. Now, Suzaku reclaims his remaining clones to regain some strength, and after that, the beast again creates 7 clones of himself. Seriously? Anywho, Suzaku then unleashes an even more powerful lightning attack, which makes the entire structure collapse. Not only that, but the attack lands on Yusuke and injures him badly. At that moment, Yusuke sees that an infected is about to stab Keiko, so the boy burns his own life force to generate a huge amount of energy. Yusuke is now beaming with it, and he uses the shotgun once more. The blast is so freaking strong that it not only defeats Suzaku, but also shatters the bug flute.
Suzaku!
Of course, the battle is over, but Yusuke is also incredibly close to dying because he just burned his own life force away. However, Kuwabara transfers some of his energy to Yusuke to save his friend. Thank God. After recovering, Yusuke goes for a walk with Keiko, who, by the way, knows all about Yusuke being a detective thanks to Botan. Keiko tells Yusuke that he doesn't have to lie anymore. She's already talking like a girlfriend! The 22nd episode begins with Hiei meeting up with Yusuke to give him a tape from Koenma. Yusuke reaches his classroom and meets Kuwabara, so they can watch the tape. Keiko also arrives and scolds Yusuke for bringing a videotape to school. Yusuke explains that the tape contains orders from the spirit world, but surprisingly, Keiko has zero idea what Yusuke is talking about. Apparently, Botan told Keiko that Yusuke is working for a detective agency, and he is an assistant to a famous detective. That's disappointing. Later, Yusuke and Botan go to Kuwabara's house to watch the tape, where they also meet Shizuru, Kuwabara's sister. In the recording, Koenma asks them to rescue a girl being held at a mountain. The girl's name is Yukina, a demon who's an ice maiden. Apparently, ice maidens can produce beautiful jewels from their bodies, and Yukina can create the gems from her tears. And because of that, a jewel dealer known as Gonzo has captured Yukina. Oh no! Meanwhile, Gonzo is hanging out with the Toguro brothers, the leaders of the Apparition Gang, which is a gang of demon mercenaries. Anyway, Gonzo and the Toguro brothers meet Yukina and force her to cry so she can create more jewels. After a while, Yusuke, Kuwabara, and Botan arrive at the mountain, and ugly Gonzo orders his men to kill the intruders. At the same time, we also learn that Yukina is, wait for it, Hiei's sister. So, Hiei is also here to save his sister. Didn't see that one coming. Moving on, Toguro brothers send some of their minion demons to take care of Yusuke and his friends. However, Yusuke and Kuwabara teach some manners to the demons by vaporizing them. The 23rd episode kicks off with Gonzo learning that Yusuke and Kuwabara have defeated their guard demon. Gonzo is pissed, and he wants to know if the Toguro brothers are truly up to the task. So, the greedy bastard asks the demon brothers to defeat Helen, a genetically manipulated creature created by Gonzo. Interestingly, the younger and taller Toguro brother can manipulate his muscles, and he rips Helen's body in half using only 13% of his power. Jeez! Of course, Gonzo the douchebag is impressed. In fact, he is so bloody impressed that he wants to bet on the fight between Toguro brothers and Yusuke and his team. Gonzo orders his assistant Sakshita to contact the Black Club, a criminal syndicate that will also possibly like to bet on the upcoming fight. Meanwhile, Yusuke and Kuwabara continue to defeat several demons on the mountain, and after a lot of slashing, they finally reach Gonzo's mansion. Inside the mansion, Gonzo introduces Sankishu, an elite group of demons that is also a part of the Apparition Gang. There are 3 members in the Sankishu group: Miyuki, Inmaki, and Gokumonkey. Gonzo asks everyone to place their bets on the fight between the intruders and the Sankishu. Right then, Yusuke, Kuwabara, and Botan enter the mansion, where they see Miyuki. The 24th episode kicks off with Yusuke stepping up to fight Miyuki, who can use her hair like a rope. Miyuki tries to restrain Yusuke, but her strategy doesn't hold for long, and Yusuke beats her so badly that she admits defeat. 1 down, many more to go. After that, Yusuke, Kuwabara, and Botan come across a trap set by Inmaki, who uses some sort of Harry Potter cloak to hide his presence. Inmaki then attacks Yusuke with his metal claws, which are indeed deadly. Then, Yusuke tells Kuwabara and Botan to run, while Inmaki chases them like an invisible freak. However, Yusuke stops as soon as Inmaki catches up to them and uses Spirit Shotgun. Since the shotgun releases a burst of blasts, the attack hits Inmaki and defeats him. Yeah, bring on the next scumbag. Next, Gokumonkey attacks the group and tries to grab Botan, but the smart girl slips out of her jacket to escape the demon's grip. Yusuke and Kuwabara then kick Gokumonkey so freaking hard that it sends him crashing through a wall. Dude, Gonzo is losing so much freaking money right now. However, the fight is far from over. As with Sanshiku tasting the dust, it's time for the Toguro brothers to fight Yusuke and Kuwabara. The 25th episode kicks off with the Toguro brothers getting ready for the fight. The elder brother transforms himself into a sword, while the younger brother manipulates his muscles. Yeah, these guys must be real popular at parties. Anywho, the demon brothers charge toward Yusuke, Kuwabara, and Botan, and with a bit of sword swinging, Toguro lands a powerful punch on Kuwabara. Yusuke uses spirit gun and shotgun, but these attacks look like circus tricks in front of Toguro. Meanwhile, Koenma is watching the fight on some divine TV with Kurama. Of course, the big softy Kurama doesn't like that Yusuke and Kuwabara are getting beaten to a pulp, so he decides to visit Gonzo's mansion so he can help his friends. At the same time, Hiei also enters the mansion looking for Yukina. During all this, Kuwabara senses Yukina's presence and sees a vision of Gonzo doing awful things to the girl. This whole thing pisses off Kuwabara, and the dude gets up to fight again. Apparently, Kuwabara wants Yusuke to fire his spirit gun at him so that the attack can increase his speed. In that case, Kuwabara can charge towards Toguro with great speed, and maybe his sword can break through the demon's defense. Well, that's a brilliant plan, because it works. Thanks to the push from Spirit Gun, Kuwabara stabs Toguro right in the stomach, killing the demon gym freak right on the spot. Meanwhile, Hiei finds Yukina and frees the poor girl. Hiei beats Gonzo like a punching bag, but it's a crime for a demon to kill a human, so he lets the old geezer live. Also, what's surprising is that Yukina doesn't know that Hiei is her brother. Yeah, Hiei has kept this hidden from Yukina for some reason. A good one, I'm sure. Kurama has also arrived in the mansion, but he's happy that Toguro is already defeated. Finally, Yukina thanks Kuwabara for fighting the demon by healing his injuries. Aww. The 26th episode shows Yukina getting all set to return to the land of the glaciers, which is her home. And Kuwabara is all bummed out that Yukina is leaving. Everyone else here is relieved that the Toguro brothers are dead, but that ain't true, sadly. In the spirit realm, Koenma and Botan learn that the Toguro brothers are still alive and that they intentionally lost the fight. Apparently, the Toguro brothers are truly working for Sakyo from the Black Club. Sakyo had a lot of money rested on Yusuke and Kuwabara, and he instructed Toguro to lose the fight to win insane amounts of money. Cheeky bastards! Afterwards, Toguro asks Sakyo if he can fight Yusuke and Kuwabara in some sort of dark tournament. Sakyo says yes, but orders Toguro to eliminate Gonzo. Nobody cares about Gonzo. Delete him! The next day, Toguro meets Yusuke in the human world and talks to him in a construction site. Toguro reveals that he lost the previous fight on purpose and had only used 20% of his power. Toguro then shows 60% of his true strength by breaking the building's pillars. The building collapses on Yusuke, but the boy survives. Now, Toguro informs Yusuke about the Dark Tournament, a martial arts competition organized by greedy human crime lords. Several powerful demons take part in this senseless tournament, and Toguro wants Yusuke and Kuwabara to participate. However, if Yusuke refuses, Toguro threatens to kill him immediately. Yusuke is basically sweating at this point, because Toguro is just way too powerful. So, the poor boy accepts the offer. Moving on, the Dark Tournament will take place in 2 months. So, Yusuke goes to Master Genkai's house for training. Kuwabara also begins training under Hiei and Kurama. 2 months pass, and Yusuke arrives at the Dark Tournament with Kuwabara, Hiei, and Kurama. However, there must be at least 5 members in a team, so Yusuke brings along a mysterious 5th member to meet the minimum requirements. This member is wearing a mask, so we don't know who that is. The first episode of the second season kicks off with Yusuke and his team getting closer to Kubikukuri Island, the location of the Dark Tournament. However, only one team on the ship is allowed to take part in the tournament. So, there will be a preliminary fighting round, which will take place on the ship itself. The match will be a battle royale, and each team can send one of their candidates. And guess what? Yusuke sends the mysterious masked warrior from his team. Meanwhile, in the human world, Botan tells Keiko and Kuwabara's sister Shizuru every goddamn thing. Botan reveals that Yusuke and Kuwabara are the representatives of the human realm in the Dark Tournament. And of course, Keiko asks Botan to take them to the tournament. Back on the ship, all the demons team up against the masked warrior, who defeats all those ugly things in a single attack. Jesus! What's interesting is that the masked warrior used Yusuke's shotgun attack, so Kuwabara wonders if the masked warrior is Master Genkai. Anyway, after winning the prelims, Yusuke's team arrives at the island, where they meet Rinku and Zeru. Interestingly, Rinku and Zeru are from the Roku Yukai team, the team that is set to fight Yusuke's group in the Dark Tournament. The second episode kicks off with Yusuke's group getting ready to fight the Roku Yukai team. Meanwhile, Botan arrives at the Dark Tournament along with Keiko and Shizuru. Koenma also comes to watch the tournament, and surprisingly, the toddler ruler of the spirit world transforms into his adult self. Wait, he can do that?
So wait, is he a toddler or is he not a toddler? I'm really confused about this guy. Of course you're gone.
The tournament is about to begin, and Kuwabara steps in for the first fight because Yusuke is, well, asleep. The format of the game is one-on-one matches in a best-of-5 style. For the first fight, Kuwabara must go against Rinku, the childlike demon. As the match starts, Rinku surprises Kuwabara with his sudden movements. However, Kuwabara manages to catch the child demon and sends him flying into the air. While Rinku is airborne, Kuwabara tries to finish off the fight, but Rinku dodges mid-air and lands a kick to Kuwabara's head. Gosh, that must be painful! After that, Rinku reveals his weapon, the Devil Yo-Yos. These yo-yos are deadly, and they strike Kuwabara from different directions. Kuwabara does his best to block the annoying yo-yos, but Rinku wraps the weapon's strings around Kuwabara's body and lifts him into the air. Finally, Rinku starts pulling Kuwabara down to slam him to the ground. The third episode kicks off with Kuwabara trying his best to counter Rinku's yo-yos, but it just doesn't work. Rinku continues to slam Kuwabara into the ground, and at one point, Kuwabara strikes Rinku while being hit by yo-yos. However, Rinku again binds Kuwabara with the strings and wins the first round by knockout. Damn it! Later on, Yusuke is still sleeping like a baby, so Kurama decides to face Roto, yet another powerful member of the Roku Yukai team. Roto is an imp-like demon who has a real nasty personality. During the fight, Roto reveals that he has sent a demon after Kurama's mother. Roto is holding a switch, and the demon will kill Kurama's mother as soon as Roto presses it. Roto wants Kurama to surrender and even lick his boots if Kurama wants his mother to live. That's just sick. But Kurama isn't just some weak-ass demon, and it turns out he planted a seed inside Roto's body, which stops him from even lifting a finger. So Roto can't press the switch to kill Kurama's mother. Kurama now takes the bloody switch from Roto's hands and activates the seed. In an instant, the seed grows inside of Roto's body and kills him. Man, that was so satisfying. And just like that, Yusuke's team wins the second round. The fourth episode kicks off with Hiei preparing for the next round, which is against the arrogant prick Zeru. The round begins, and Zeru surprises everyone by surrounding the entire stage in flames. After showing off for a while, Zeru pierces Hiei's stomach and throws a spectral flame at him. The attack burns Hiei and knocks him to the ground. Oh, please don't be dead. Zeru thinks that Hiei is gone for good, so the douchebag starts to leave. But then Hiei gets up on his feet like a complete badass. Hiei then summons the dark flames of the demon realm and uses them to completely vaporize Zeru. That's it. Zeru's gone, and there's nothing of him left behind. Hiei wins the third round, and the remaining Roku Yukai members are so damn scared that they start running away. However, Chu, the leader of Roku Yukai, knocks down all of them for being such cowards. Chu is drunk to his bones, but he still enters the arena for the next fight. Not only that, but Chu agrees to fight not one, but two members of Yusuke's team. Talk about confidence. At this point, Yusuke has also woken up, so he decides to take on this drunken and unhygienic monster. The fifth episode starts with Yusuke and Chu off on their next fight. Quite instantly, Chu lands several punches on Yusuke, who, on the other hand, is struggling just to catch up. Chu keeps on throwing one surprise after another, like the dude just creates a mirage of himself and kicks Yusuke out of the ring. Yusuke then uses his spirit gun to flex his technique in front of Chu. Chu decides that he should do something cool as well, so he drinks a powerful alcohol from the demon realm known as Onigoroshi. After consuming it, Chu covers the entire stadium with his energy. For a moment, it seems like Chu will release a deadly power, but then he just starts vomiting. Little dude can't handle his demon liquor, can he? After wiping the vomit off his face, Chu throws an energy ball towards Yusuke, who replies with a spirit gun. However, the two attacks collide and cancel each other out. Both Yusuke and Chu fight on par. In fact, they start to enjoy the fight so much that they start laughing.
Can you hear them? They're laughing at their own helplessness. It seems the strain of battle has driven them into hysteria.
Amazing! The sixth episode kicks off with both Yusuke and Chu completely exhausted after using up all of their energy. Then, Chu proposes some sort of knife-edge death match. He stabs two knives into the floor and tells Yusuke to place his right foot in front of the knife on his side. Chu explains that neither of them can step past the line formed by the knives. If any one of them crosses the line, they die. They can't step back, and they can only use their bodies. Whoever knocks the other person out wins. That's a interesting game. All right. Now, while Chu and Yusuke start throwing punches at each other, a demon named Karasu arrives at the stadium. For some reason, Karasu is here to observe Yusuke. Ooh, interesting. Meanwhile, Keiko is so scared for Yusuke that she arrives at the stadium to ask Kuwabara to stop the fight. However, Kuwabara says that to fight Toguro, Yusuke must endure all of this pain. That actually makes sense. Back at the ring, Yusuke and Chu clash with a crazy headbutt, which causes Chu to collapse. Yusuke wins the match, and Chu asks Yusuke to kill him because of some honor crap. However, Yusuke refuses to do it and tells Chu that they will fight some other time. That's a Giga Chad move right there. The seventh episode kicks off with Yusuke, for some reason, having a difficult time concentrating his energy. So, Yusuke decides to walk alone in the forest to figure out what the hell is happening. Meanwhile, Kurama observes a match where a team called Dr. Ichigaki's team easily bags the win. Back in the forest, Yusuke meets a demon named Rugby from Team Spirit Warriors. Rugby wants to test one of his attacks, Demon Ball, against Yusuke's spirit gun. But since Yusuke cannot properly concentrate his energy, he just avoids the attack. Right then, another member of Spirit Warriors, Ogyoku, and their leader, Topaz, arrive to stop Rugby. In fact, Topaz stabs his axe into Rugby for messing around and tells Yusuke that he will defeat him in the arena. Of course, Yusuke is still having a bit of trouble concentrating his energy on his fingertip. So, the mysterious masked warrior of Yusuke's team asks Yusuke to avoid a spirit gun for a while, or else the boy might lose his arm. Later at the arena, Yusuke and his team watch the match between Team Toguro and Team Spirit Warriors. Guess what? Toguro bodies all members of the Spirit Warriors with a single punch each. That is terrifying. Finally, it's time for Yusuke's team to face Dr. Ichigaki. The 8th episode kicks off with Yusuke, Kuwabara, and the Masked Warrior heading toward the arena. On the way, Koenma appears and informs them that he still has Yusuke's golden egg. Also, the beast inside the egg is about to hatch, so it may be able to help Yusuke. Okay, that's good. Meanwhile, Hiei is thinking about his burns, which he got on his hand while using the dark flame in the previous fight. Kurama is also there, and says it won't be easy for Hiei to fight with one hand. Right then, 2 members from Dr. Ichigaki's team appear to stop Kurama and Hiei from reaching the arena. Back in the stadium, Yusuke, Kuwabara, and the Masked Warrior enter the ring. Since both teams only have 3 fighters present, the Masked Warrior proposes a 6-person battle to settle the damn thing. The match begins, and Yusuke and Kuwabara struggle to catch up against the opponents. The Masked Warrior helps them survive, though, and explains that Yusuke and Kuwabara's energy levels are too low to see the enemy's attacks. Meanwhile, in the forest, Hiei and Kurama fight the 2 Ichigaki members. The fight isn't that difficult, and Hiei and Kurama even manage to kill one of the enemies quite easily. The 9th episode takes us back to the area where Yusuke, Kuwabara, and the Masked Warrior are fighting the Ichigaki members. During the fight, Yusuke is about to be struck, but the Masked Warrior pushes him aside and takes the hit themselves, which knocks them unconscious. At this point, Yusuke and Kuwabara learn that 3 enemies are being controlled by Dr. Ichigaki. In reality, these fighters are good guys, but they're forced to fight in this tournament. Regardless, the 3 fighters attack Yusuke and Kuwabara again, but the Masked Warrior suddenly recovers and kicks all 3 of them away. The entire thing destroys the warrior's mask, and it turns out the Masked Warrior is a young woman with pink hair. Wait, who the hell are you? Meanwhile, Hiei and Kurama arrive at the arena, and they've held 1 Ichigaki member hostage. Kurama explains that the fighters are being manipulated against their will. So, Yusuke and Kuwabara attempt to rush toward Ichigaki, but the 3 controlled fighters attack Kuwabara and injure him badly. In the next moment, Yusuke notices that the controlled fighters are crying tears of blood. They are begging Yusuke to kill them. Yusuke gets pissed and leaps into the air to unleash the spirit gun at the warriors.
I'd say this is gonna hurt me more than it hurts you, but I don't like to lie.
The 10th episode kicks off with Yusuke almost launching the spirit gun at the controlled fighters. However, the masked warrior, who's now unmasked, stops Yusuke. Then, she uses her energy to free the warriors from Dr. Ichigaki's control. Right after that, the controlled fighters collapse to the ground. Yusuke's team wins the match, but Yusuke and his friends confront Ichigaki for being a sick asshole. Dr. Ichigaki then injects himself with a syringe and transforms into a giant monster. He begins attacking wildly and even injures one of Yusuke's hands. However, Yusuke is pissed beyond anything, so he grabs Ichigaki and beats the crap out of him. Once Ichigaki is thrown out of the ring, it's revealed that the three fighters, En, Ryo, and Kai, are still alive. The masked warrior explains that the technique she used judges the heart of the individual. If the heart is corrupt, the body gets destroyed. On the other hand, if the heart is pure, all evil elements leave the body. After getting such fruitful information, Yusuke's team begins to leave the arena, but they learn that the next round will begin immediately. Now, the next opponents Yusuke's team will have to face are the members of Team Masho, the shinobi of the underworld. The 11th episode kicks off with Yusuke's team preparing to face Team Masho. The first member of Team Masho reveals himself, and his name is Jin, who's also known as the Wind Tamer. However, before the match begins, Yusuke's team is sent for a medical checkup because they are all bruised up. A female doctor calls the masked warrior and Hiei into a medical tent. However, this is nothing but a trap set by the owner of Team Masho. Hiei and the masked warrior can't leave the tent because of the energy barrier, and Kuwabara is not in a condition to fight anyway. So, only Yusuke and Kurama are available to fight. Darn it! Seeing the messed up situation, Jin steps back and allows another teammate to take his place. This other teammate is Gamma, the body paint bearer, who enters the ring to face Kurama. The fight begins, and Gamma takes out a brush and paints his entire body, which increases his demonic energy. Not only that, but Gamma also uses his brush to paint curse marks on Kurama's body parts, making it difficult for Kurama to move. Of course, Gamma thinks that Kurama can't do crap, so he must be weak. But right then, Kurama uses his rose whip to slash Gamma's body repeatedly. Thanks to Kurama's artworks with his whip, Gamma is on the verge of death. But before dying, Gamma splatters his blood onto Kurama. Ew. Apparently, Gamma uses his blood to steal Kurama's energy for some time, and it will work even after Gamma dies. So even with Gamma gone, one of his teammates can actually kill Kurama because he won't have his energy. That's terrifying. Anyway, after Gamma dies, Toya, the hexed ice user from Team Masho, enters the ring to fight Kurama. The 12th episode kicks off with Kurama's fight with Toya. Right after stepping onto the ring, Toya covers the entire arena in freezing air. Then, Toya releases sharp ice projectiles at Kurama. Kurama barely dodges the attack, and he still can't fight with full power because that jerk Gamma took away his energy. But Toya has no honor, so he continues to attack Kurama and causes him to collapse to the ground. Despite all that torture, Kurama tries to get up again, and in that struggle, Kurama wipes off Gamma's blood with his own blood. At that point, Kurama realizes that he can channel his energy through his blood. Moving on, Toya forms a sword of ice around his hand and charges towards Kurama. As expected, Kurama struggles initially, but then he uses the death plant grass that he had grown inside his own body. The plant pierces through Toya's chest, but it doesn't kill him.
But how?
Jeez, that was uncomfortable. With that, Kurama wins 2 matches back to back, but he collapses on the ground due to excessive blood loss. However, Kurama is still in the match, and the corrupt Team Masho won't let Yusuke take his friend's place. Now, the next opponent Kurama has to face is Baken, who, as expected, easily overpowers Kurama and beats him like a sadistic monster. The 13th episode kicks off with Baken beating Kurama mercilessly, and after getting bored, he just throws Kurama off the stage. Yusuke is pissed, and with Kurama officially out of the match, Yusuke steps in to humble Baken. Baken, being the disgusting jerk that he is, converts his sweat into a thick fog that covers the entire arena. Yusuke is basically blind in this fog, so Baken manages to land some hits on him. But later, Yusuke fires his spirit gun at the ground to disperse the fog and clear the area. That was quick thinking. Yusuke can see everything now, including Baken's ugly face. So he wastes no time and breaks Baken's ribs with a solid punch. That's all it takes for Baken to start begging Yusuke for mercy, but that's just another one of his dirty tricks. While Yusuke is distracted, Baken tries to smash Yusuke's head with a rock, but the attack has no effect. Yusuke is now pissed, like really pissed, and he breaks every single bone in Baken's body and throws him off the stage. Good riddance. Finally, it's time for Yusuke to face Jin, who's actually really strong. Jin flies high into the sky and dives straight toward Yusuke to land a punch that knocks him down. Jesus, slow down, man! The 14th episode kicks off with Jin and Yusuke exchanging some heavy attacks, and it seems like they're both having a lot of fun. Apparently, Jin can gather the wind around his fists to unleash some powerful punches. And of course, Yusuke struggles a bit against Jin's attacks, but he dodges almost all of them. After that, Yusuke charges towards Jin as he's gathering enough wind for his next attack. Yusuke doesn't give Jin enough time to prepare his attack and launches a series of punches at him. Yusuke is being a madman right now, so Jin flies mid-air to catch some breath. Obviously, Yusuke has no time to waste, so he fires the spirit gun at Jin, who blocks it by creating a barrier of wind around him. Now, Jin prepares the wind tornado around both of his arms, but Yusuke has had enough of his nonsense. This time, Yusuke takes a new stance, which scares the hell out of Boltan and the Masked Warrior. According to both, this attack can kill Yusuke in his current condition. What are you planning to do there, Yusuke? The 15th episode kicks off with the Masked Warrior explaining Yusuke's new stance. Apparently, unlike the spirit gun, which concentrates energy into his fingertip, this new technique requires raising the entire body's energy to its maximum output. Since Yusuke has already fired the spirit gun 3 times, and both techniques are based on a similar principle, he can only use this move once. Oh, okay, yeah, that's a risky move, alright. Back in the arena, Yusuke's entire body begins overflowing with energy. Jin tries to stop Yusuke, but our boy deflects Jin's attack with one arm. Yusuke then unleashes Spirit Wave, which sends Jin high into the frickin' sky. After that, Jin falls right onto the spectator's stand, and he just can't get up after taking all that damage. just amazing. Yeah, Yusuke has finally won the fight against Jin with his godly move. After that, Risho, the leader of Team Masho, enters the arena to fight Yusuke. Unlike other Masho members, Risho is actually a cunning fox who can do anything, and I mean anything, to win. Meanwhile, Yukina arrives at the arena, but there aren't any tickets left, so she can't enter. Moving on, the fight between Yusuke and Risho is about to begin. But suddenly, the committee decides to come up with yet another nonsense. Apparently, there was a moment when Jin threw Yusuke out of the ring during their fight, so the committee declares their match a draw? That's just stupid! But hey, you can't fight the committee, right? To make things worse, since Yusuke is the final player from his team, Team Masho will technically be the winner. However, before the committee can officially declare Masho as the winner, Kuwabara steps in to fight Risho. Kuwabara can barely stand, but he's ready to take one for his team. Kuwabara, my dude, you are amazing! The 16th episode kicks off with the match between Kuwabara and Risho. Of course, Kuwabara is weak as hell, so Risho dominates the fight from the very start. Outside the stadium, Shizuru, Keiko, Botan, and Yukina attempt to re-enter, but the guards are strict about rules. However, they beat the guards and run inside the arena. Back at the stadium, we see that Risho can cover his body with hardened earth armor, and with that, he launches devastating attacks at poor Kuwabara. Kuwabara, on the other hand, is so damn weak that he can't even maintain his spirit sword. Kuwabara realizes that he can't win through normal means, so he prepares to sacrifice his life energy to defeat Risho. But just then, Kuwabara hears Yukina calling his name, and his heart starts pumping real fast. It's clear that our boy is in love. Anywho, after seeing Yukina, Kuwabara realizes that there's many, or rather one, main reason to stay alive. So he reignites his spirit energy. Kuwabara is back to his original power, and with that, he is able to destroy Risho's armor and defeat the sick bastard.
You're just a no-good cheater, Risho! So get out of my ring!
With Risho out of the picture, Team Yusuke reaches the semifinals of the Dark Tournament. The 17th episode kicks off with Koenma arriving to meet Yusuke and Botan. Koenma tells them that Yusuke's spirit egg is about to hatch, and Yusuke can use whatever comes out of the egg in his coming fights. Right then, the egg finally hatches, and a spirit beast called Pooh finally comes out. Interestingly, Pooh is a rather cute little penguin-like creature who, wait for it, flexes Yusuke's iconic hairstyle. Pooh is just adorable! The next morning, Yusuke's team watches Team Uraotogi easily defeat their opponents like they're walking in the park. The 5 members from Team Uraotogi are Kuro, Makintaro, Onji, Urashima, and Shishiwakamaru. After a while, we also see the 2 other members of Team Toguro. The man in armor is Bai, and the man wearing a trench coat is Karasu. And of course, there's the Toguro brothers. Yusuke is scared of Toguro's power, but the masked warrior asks Yusuke to stop being a coward. After that, the masked warrior reveals her true form, and it turns out she is indeed Master Genkai. That's not surprising at all. Apparently, Genkai can return to her youthful form as long as her spirit wave is active. After that insane revelation, Genkai asks Yusuke to fire his spirit gun at full power. Genkai even gives Yusuke an example by firing her insanely powerful spirit gun. At this point, Yusuke realizes that he still doesn't know the full potential of his power. Yeah, hurry it on up, dude! The 18th episode takes us back to Yusuke and Genkai's conversation. Genkai reveals that Yusuke can get even more powerful, but he must absorb Genkai's energy by killing her. Yusuke is confused as hell, and he refuses to kill his own master just for more power. Well, that was a test, and Yusuke passed it. In fact, Genkai reveals that she will never ever give her power to someone who wants to kill her. Genkai then reveals that her source of power is the Spirit Wave Orb, and takes out a bright ball of energy. In reality, Yusuke's test is to absorb the Spirit Wave Orb. By doing so, Yusuke can substantially increase his power. So, the incentive is good, but there's a catch. The orb can also kill Yusuke. Of course, Yusuke doesn't give a crap about dying, so he agrees. And Genkai puts the orb inside Yusuke. At first, Yusuke feels nothing, but in the next instance, he falls to the ground while screaming in pain. Jeez. Meanwhile, it's time for the semifinals, and Team Yusuke enters the arena, but of course, Yusuke and Genkai aren't there. So, Kuwabara, Hiei, and Kurama agree to fight Team Uraotogi. The first fight is between Hiei and Makintaro, the tallest and most muscular member of Team Uraotogi. As soon as the round begins, Hiei cuts off one of Makintaro's arms, and without wasting any more time, Hiei appears on Makintaro's head and kills him with his sword.
Your eyes are rather slow. Too bad.
That isn't an honorable death for Makintaro. Elsewhere, Genkai is watching Yusuke, who's still suffering because of that damn orb. The 19th episode begins with Yusuke screaming his lungs out because of the pain. After a while, even Genkai starts to feel bad and decides to pull out the orb. However, Yusuke tells Genkai to stop because he thinks he can take it and actually absorb the orb's insane power. Back in the arena, Kuro from Team Uraotogi, possibly another gym dude, decides to fight Hiei next. Before the match, Kuro picks up Hiei's katana and licks the blade before cutting his hand with it. Dude, that's not nice. Kuro then activates his steaming sphere and inhales its fumes. After that, Kuro transforms his body into some sort of beastly ape armor. Regardless, Hiei charges at Kuro and tracks with his sword, which just completely shatters upon contact with Kuro's armor. Kuro then explains that his body can adapt to every attack, and the steaming sphere simply helps him accelerate this evolution. So basically, Kuro used Hiei's blade so he could check out its power. Now, Kuro can take on every attack that Hiei throws at him. At least that's what Kuro believes. Moving on, Hiei then reveals his Jagon Eye, but instead of summoning the Darkness Flame, Hiei channels energy into his arm and attacks Kuro, who not only survives the attack, but also evolves further. Now, Kuro has become a giant bird-like creature, and of course, he's far stronger than his first transformation.
The second beast, the armor of the Phoenix!
The 20th episode takes us back to Hiei's fight against Kuro, who, at this point, has unleashed his third transformation. Now, this weird guy is transformed into a wolf. This is Kuro's strongest transformation. But unfortunately, Kuro has already used his final steaming sphere, so yeah, that's the extent of Kuro's power. But he acts cocky in front of Hiei, who we all know is a total badass. So, Hiei channels all of his stored energy into his blade, which creates the Sword of Darkness Flame. The sword indeed looks deadly, but still, Kuro charges towards Hiei, who easily cuts down the arrogant prick with his sword. In an instant, Hiei has won the first round against Team Uraotogi. Now, it's time for the next match, which is between Kurama and Urashima. Urashima fights with a fishing pole, and for some reason this dude looks shady. During the fight, Urashima tells a story about his sick grandmother and says he was forced onto the team by Shishi Wakamaru, who promised him wealth. But now, Urashima is sick of all this, and he asks Kurama to fake strike him so they can stage his defeat against Kurama. Kurama is obviously sensitive when it comes to the word mother, so he agrees to knock out Urashima with the Rose Whip. However, this is nothing but Urashima's plan to trick Kurama. While Kurama is distracted, Urashima attacks the big softy with his fishing pole. After that, Urashima reveals the Idun box, a magical artifact that releases smoke. This smoke isn't exactly deadly, but it can reverse the age of anyone who inhales it. Obviously, Kurama tries to hold his breath, but he eventually inhales the smoke. Darn it! Apparently, this little stunt was meant to turn Kurama into a toddler, but that doesn't happen. Instead, the smoke restores Kurama's original identity, and he transforms back into his demon form, Yoko. The 21st episode kicks off with Yoko attacking Urashima, but he just dominates the fight from the beginning. Yoko unleashes the Death Tree, which is a powerful plant that secretes acidic saliva. Of course, Urashima is scared to his bones. He just knows that he can't win. Then, Yoko asks Urashima the secret of the Idun box. Urashima doesn't reveal anything at first, but eventually he starts to speak up. Urashima reveals that he's not truly Urashima. However, before Urashima can fully explain, a sword flies into the ring and strikes him. And before dying, Urashima transforms into a wolf-like creature. Oh, come on! Enough with the mystery here! Apparently, it was the buzzkill Shishi Wakamaru who threw the sword. Regardless, the referee declares that Kurama has won the round, and after the smoke clears, Kurama returns to his human form. Now, it's time for the next round, where Yusuke's team will have to go against none other than Shishi Wakamaru. After a brief argument, Yusuke's team decides that Kuwabara will take on Shishi Wakamaru first. While all these guys are having fun, Yusuke is still taking on a lot of pain from the Spirit Wave Orb. The pain is so severe that even Yusuke's Spirit Beast Pooh almost dies, cause, he can also feel Yusuke's pain. However, seeing that Pooh is about to die, Yusuke finally gets back on his feet and successfully absorbs Genkai's orb, which is possibly the world's worst steroid. However, the boy faints right after completing that painful task. The 22nd episode begins with Kuwabara's fight against Shishi Wakamaru, who is a skilled swordsman. Shishi Wakamaru starts to dominate Kuwabara right from the beginning, and then he unleashes a special item called the Cape of No Return. The weird cape wraps around Kuwabara and transports him to the tournament ring that was used before the semifinals. This tournament ring is obviously empty, but guess what? Botan, Keiko, Yukina, and Shizuru are in this ring because they've lost their way. Now, they can't find the new ring where Kuwabara was actually fighting Shishi Wakamaru. Anyway, Kuwabara is just happy to see Yukina, and he agrees to take everyone to the new ring. Back in the stadium, the referee announces that Kuwabara has lost because he's no longer in the ring, so Team Yusuke must send another fighter. By this time, Genkai has returned, so she decides to fight Shishiwakamaru. Of course, Genkai is still wearing her mask, so Shishiwakamaru cuts off the mask to reveal the masked warrior's identity. At this point, Genkai is in her old state, and everyone remembers the masked warrior as a young woman. Shishiwakamaru then says that Team Yusuke should be disqualified, as they hid one of their fighters' true identities. Shishiwakamaru says that Team Yusuke might be sending different warriors using the mask. However, younger Toguro doesn't like this at all, so he speaks up in Genkai's favor. Toguro reveals that the young girl and the old woman everyone is seeing right now are the same, so the tournament committee decides that the round should go on. The 23rd episode continues the match between Genkai and Shishiwakamaru. Younger Toguro knows that Genkai has transferred most of the power to Yusuke, so he wonders if the old woman can still win. Back to the fight, Shishiwakamaru uses a powerful sonic attack that surprises the audience, but Genkai is not impressed or affected by it. Shishiwakamaru then summons massive ghostly skulls that attack weaker demons in the crowd. However, powerful spectators such as Kurama, Hiei, and younger Toguro easily kill the skulls. And of course, Genkai still remains unaffected and wonders what the hell Shishiwakamaru is trying to do. Meanwhile, Kuwabara arrives at the stadium and he's carrying Yusuke, who's still unconscious. As Shishiwakamaru continues to launch attacks on Genkai, she briefly returns to her young form and knocks down Shishiwakamaru. Genkai then absorbs the energy of Shishiwakamaru's attack and redirects it at him. After all that flexing, Shishiwakamaru loses the fight to Genkai, who doesn't even break a sweat. Now it's time for Kuwabara to step back into the ring and fight his next opponent, Onji. The 24th episode kicks off with the match between Kuwabara and Onji, an old man who seems too athletic for his age. Surprisingly, Onji dodges almost every attack from Kuwabara, which is kinda annoying for Kuwabara. Meanwhile, Keiko is holding an unconscious Yusuke outside the gym, and she's attacked by some creepy demons. Shockingly though, Chu, Rinku, Toya, and Jin save Keiko and Yusuke by scaring off the demons. Yeah, these guys are from the Team Roku Yukai that fought against Team Yusuke earlier. Apparently, these guys have really taken a liking to Yusuke. Back in the arena, Onji reveals that it was he who gave his teammates the tools to fight in his tournament. In fact, Shishiwakamaru's teleportation cloak was created by Onji, and he can teleport Kuwabara back without the cloak. Well, Onji does just that and teleports Kuwabara back to the old tournament ring. Really? Again? Sadly, this means Kuwabara has lost again, so Genkai steps forward to fight Onji. Right after stepping into the ring, Genkai asks Onji to stop pretending to be an old man. Onji then reveals his true identity as Suzuki, a narcissistic demon with a jester-like appearance. Suzuki does look uglier at this point, and yeah, a bit more threatening too. But all that charm doesn't work on Genkai, who defeats this cheap-ass Super Saiyan rather quickly. After Suzuki's defeat, Team Yusuke finally enters the Dark Tournament Finals. While Yusuke's team enjoys their victory, Genkai meets younger Toguro, who wants to speak with the old lady, to which Genkai agrees. More mystery? Oh, okay, yeah, bring it on. The 25th episode kicks off with Team Toguro's match, where they absolutely destroy their opponents. Karasu takes on the first match, and he not only dodges every single attack, but he also makes the enemy explode. Well, the rest of the members of Team Toguro follow the trend, and Bui and Elder Toguro win their matches quite easily as well. But wait a minute. Where the hell is young Toguro? Oh yeah, he's secretly meeting up with Master Genkai.
You've gotten old. It's bizarre.
You haven't changed a single bit.
At this point, we learn that young Toguro and Genkai were allies 50 years ago. Oh, really? Younger Toguro tells Genkai that she already passed on her power to Yusuke, so she isn't needed anymore. After that, young Toguro charges at Genkai, and she fights back. Meanwhile, Yusuke senses the aura of young Toguro and starts running towards its source. The 26th episode shows us a small flashback to when younger Toguro and Genkai were friends. Interestingly, these two used to train together and were really close, but for some reason, younger Toguro lost his soul for immortality and strength. Back to the present, Genkai injures Toguro's arm with her spirit gun, but the big gym dude uses 80% of his power to heal himself. After that, Toguro charges at Genkai and pierces her stomach, killing her on the spot.
Genkai, you're all right. I'm here now. You're gonna be fine. Trust me, Genkai. Come on, let's get out of here.
Jesus, don't tell me she's really gone. Yusuke arrives at the scene and picks up Master Genkai, who tells him a little bit about her and younger Toguro's past. Sadly, Genkai dies immediately after. Of course, Yusuke loses his mind and attacks Toguro, but the big bad villain sends the boy flying with a punch. However, Toguro is impressed that the punch ruptured his own arm. The 27th episode kicks off with Yusuke thinking about Genkai's death and how he is carrying her spirit wave power. However, there's no time to mourn. In fact, Yusuke should get ready for this sweet revenge. And for that, he needs to train harder for the Dark Tournament's finals. After a while, Suzuki, the old man from Team Uraotogi, gives Kurama and Kuwabara two powerful but unstable weapons.
It's all up to you whether you want to use the help or not.
Why? It's simple. Suzuki is also tired of the Toguro brothers, and he wants them to taste dust in the finals. At this point, we also learn exactly why Sakyo, Team Toguro's owner and a member of Black Club, is betting a lot of money on this tournament. Apparently, Sakyo wants to use the winnings to construct a massive tunnel connecting the human world and the demon world. Oh, dude's just into architecture, that's cool. Sakyo explains that absolutely no one is betting against Toguro, which means he can generate loads of money if Yusuke actually defeats Toguro. Sakyo reveals his plan to the committee, who are actually scared of Sakyo, so the committee members send some demons to kill Sakyo before he becomes a threat to them. Yeah, the committee should not have sent demons after the mastermind villain. As expected, Toguro arrives right on time to save his master and kill the cowardly committee members. The 28th episode kicks off with Yusuke thinking about what happened, but he doesn't have the strength to tell Kuwabara about Genkai's death. Meanwhile, Kuwabara is just excited that he can now summon a new sword using his energy. Of course, Kuwabara asks Yusuke about Genkai, but Yusuke lies that the old lady won't be joining them today.
Truthfully, Yusuke could not tell them because if he did, he would then be admitting to himself that she was gone for good, and that was something he did not know how to do.
Finally, it's time for the ultimate match between Team Yusuke and Team Toguro. However, both teams are short by one player. So, Koenma decides to join Yusuke's team, and Toguro's team owner, Sakyo, joins his ugly-ass team. Now, both teams enter the arena to settle this matter like big boys. The 29th episode kicks off the first match of the finals, which is between Kurama and Kurasu. Before the fight, Kuwabara asks if Kurama drank Suzuki's potion, and Kurama says, "Yeah, dude, I drank that whole thing." The match begins, and Kurama remembers that Kurasu can transfer explosive energy into his targets to detonate them. Still, Kurama unleashes his attacks to buy some time for his demonic transformation. However, Kurasu easily walks through all of Kurama's attack. In fact, Kurasu detonates Kurama's lovely whip that we all loved very much. Kurasu, you scumbag! In the next moment, Kurasu reveals that he can actually implant explosive energy into targets without direct contact. Right after that, a few invisible blasts injure Kurama's arm and leg. Damn! Fortunately, Kurama transforms into Yoko before Kurasu can do any more damage. Yoko then continues to attack Kurasu, and during the fight, Yoko surrounds the arena with the Demon Realm's bowing plants. These amazing yet scary-ass plants are highly sensitive to movement, and they start attacking Kurasu even if he moves a little bit. Frickin' plant turrets! This is incredible! The 30th episode continues the fight between Yoko Kurama and Kurasu. Kurama's bowing plant continues to attack Kurasu, who tries his best to avoid the attacks, but it just doesn't work. In fact, at one point, the plant tears off Kurasu's mask and covers him completely. Everyone thinks that Kurasu is dead, but nah, it's still too early for Kurasu to say goodbye. Kurasu emerges alive, but he has lost his mask, so we can finally see his beautiful face. Jokes aside, Kurasu is pissed, so he internalizes his explosive energy, which turns Kurasu's hair blonde. Shockingly, this entire thing transforms Kurasu into a living bomb. Right after that, Kurasu dive bombs into Yoko, which triggers a massive explosion. Sadly, Kurasu's attack lands on Kurama, and our boy returns to his human form after staying on the ground for far too long. Kurama gets so weak that he even struggles to summon his rose whip. To make things worse, Kurasu detonates a bomb on Kurama's leg. No, please don't lose, dude. At this point, Kurasu starts to act all cocky and steps forward to land a finishing blow on Kurama. Surprisingly, though, Kurama uses the last bit of his energy to summon a demon world blood-sucking plant. The plant sucks out all of Kurasu's blood from his chest, killing him on the spot.
It can't be. Where did he find the strength to do this? Ugh.
Thank God there is no such plant on Earth. Jeez. Anyway, with Kurasu defeated, Team Urameshi claims their first victory in the finals. So, hooray! The 31st episode begins with the committee announcing something incredibly frustrating. Apparently, while the plant was sucking on Kurasu's blood, Kurama was already unconscious. So technically, Kurama was down for more than 10 seconds before Kurasu's death. And apparently if someone is down for more than 10 seconds, they lose. So in this case, dead Kurasu actually wins the round. Dude, I'm so pissed off right now. Ugh. Regardless, Hiei now gets ready for his match, which is against Bai, who can use his demon energy to create giant axes. As soon as the match begins, Bai starts attacking Hiei, who dodges and blocks almost every attack like a Chad. In fact, at one point, Hiei even burns one of the axes. Bai now realizes that it's bloody time that he takes Hiei seriously, so he takes off his armor and begins to float like he's some kind of Marvel character.
Whoa, how did I not pick up on this guy's energy?
Because of his armor.
Right after that, Bai launches an energy blast that starts following Hiei. But that ain't an issue for Hiei as he redirects the blast towards Bai. Sadly though, Bai cannot be harmed by his own attacks. Bummer! At this point, Hiei realizes that Bai isn't some part-time demon, he's the real deal. So Hiei starts to unleash his Dragon of the Dark Flames. The 32nd episode kicks off with Hiei summoning the Dragon of Darkness Flame, which looks so menacing that even Bai almost pisses his pants. Without wasting a moment, Hiei directs the dragon towards Bai, who just outright humiliates him with his power. However, after struggling for a long time, Bai manages to redirect the dragon towards Hiei. It almost seems like the dragon has completely destroyed Hiei, along with the entire stadium. Now, only Bai is standing in the ring, so everyone thinks that Hiei is dead and Bai has actually won the fight. But before the referee can announce the winner, Hiei appears and he's completely unharmed. Jeez, don't scare us like that, man! Apparently, several people have tried to control the power of the dragon, but Hiei actually learned how to do it. Instead of being consumed by the dragon's power, Hiei embraces it and survives the attack. Regardless, Bai is already bruised up thanks to the dragon, so it doesn't take long for Hiei to beat the crap out of Bai and defeat him. Hiei, you are a badass! Of course, Hiei wins the fight, but he refuses to kill Bai because he's become a softie after hanging out with Kurama. The 33rd episode shows the entire stadium as a wreck after Bai and Hiei's match. So, younger Toguro carries an entire replacement ring into the stadium himself. Jesus, Yusuke has to fight this monster? Anyway, after younger Toguro is done flexing his muscles, Kuwabara gets ready for his match against the elder Toguro. The match begins and fancy hair Kuwabara charges forward with a sword and slices elder Toguro clean in half. Okay. However, elder Toguro is far from dead, and he suddenly attacks Kuwabara from behind. Elder Toguro now explains that he relocated his vital organs at will, and the guy Kuwabara just sliced in half was simply a decoy with Elder Toguro's real body. At this point, Elder Toguro tells Kuwabara that Master Genkai is dead. Yeah, for some reason, Yusuke didn't tell Kuwabara about Genkai. Kuwabara is just fuming with anger and also beaming with too much energy. Kuwabara now again attacks Elder Toguro with all his might and slices his body into pieces. But again, Elder Toguro reassembles his body and confirms that he can't really be killed unless Kuwabara can damage his heart or brain. After revealing more disgusting facts about his body, Elder Toguro impales Kuwabara and lifts him into the air. Dude, this ain't an easy fight, is it? The 34th episode kicks off with Elder Toguro slamming Kuwabara into the ground. However, Kuwabara quickly gets up and again slices Elder Toguro's body parts. But of course, the loudmouth villain starts regenerating, and Kuwabara realizes he can never pinpoint the exact location of his heart or brain. So Kuwabara changes the shape of his sword and transforms it into some sort of racket. And finally, Kuwabara slams the entire body of Elder Toguro like he's killing an insect.
Okay, jury, call the stinking match!
God damn. Well, the strategy works. And forget about the heart or the brain, Kuwabara destroys the entire body of Elder Toguro and wins the match. Kuwabara, you're a hero! Before the next match, Sakyo bets his own life on the upcoming fight between Yusuke and younger Toguro. Koenma matches the vibe and stakes his own life, deciding that Yusuke versus younger Toguro will be the deciding match of the tournament. Later, we see that Elder Toguro has somehow survived. Oh my god! How? Even after getting defeated, Elder Toguro is as cocky as before, and he even mocks Yusuke using Genkai's name. Even younger Toguro gets pissed at his brother. After that, Elder Toguro offers to merge with his brother to guarantee their victory. Surprisingly though, younger Toguro not only says no to the offer, but he also destroys Elder Toguro with a single blow.
You're dead to me.
Not gonna lie, I kinda like younger Toguro. Apparently, younger Toguro wants to fight Yusuke alone, without any help. The 35th episode kicks off the long-awaited battle between Yusuke and younger Toguro, who, after his brother's death, can just be called Toguro now. Anywho, Toguro removes his jacket, and this dude is jacked up. To impress everyone even further, Toguro powers up to 80%, and his aura is so damn strong, it kills the weaker demons in the crowd. Now, both Yusuke and Toguro charge at each other and exchange several blows. But for now, they're really only testing each other's strength. Moving on, Toguro asks Yusuke to show him the power he got from Genkai. And, well, Yusuke does just that by firing a massive spirit gun at Toguro from a close distance. The attack is so freaking strong that it pushes Toguro out of the stadium and into the forest.
I don't think anybody saw that one coming. Especially not Toguro, who's been blown right out of the stadium!
Sure, that's impressive on the surface, but in reality, the attack doesn't even leave a scratch on Toguro. After that, Toguro starts dominating the fight. Yusuke gives his best, but Toguro is just too damn strong, even at 80% of his power. Toguro says Yusuke is not worth fighting at 100%, even with all the power he got from Genkai. The 36th episode begins with Yusuke hearing all the insults from Toguro, and the boy just smiles. Ooh, are you holding back, Yusuke? Yeah, he is. 'Cause in the next moment, Yusuke removes his wristbands and reveals glowing seals known as the Cursed Spirit Shackles. Apparently, these shackles were placed on Yusuke by Genkai to constantly suppress his power. Why? Well, so that Yusuke could focus on his spiritual output without releasing it unnecessarily. But it's not really the best time to be holding back, so Yusuke finally releases the shackles. Right after that, a massive surge of energy erupts from Yusuke's body, and it shocks every goddamn demon in the crowd. With his shackles removed, Yusuke overwhelms Toguro at 80%. Quite easily, in fact. Yusuke launches rapid punches at Toguro and sends him flying. Turns out, Toguro is impressed, and he finally acknowledges Yusuke as a worthy opponent. However, this also means that Toguro is ready to unleash his 100% power. The beast Toguro releases all of his power and mutates into a monstrous form. Dude, What the hell is even that?
Daddy, chill.
After that, Toguro quite easily blocks every attack from Yusuke, even a close-range spirit gun blast. On top of that, Toguro overwhelms Yusuke by firing compressed air bullets from his thumb. So you can say that Yusuke isn't having such a great time now. The 37th episode kicks off with Toguro consuming the souls of every demon within the stadium to maintain his 100% transformation. Obviously, Yusuke tries to stop Toguro, but he gets a lot of beating from the big monster. At one point, Yusuke even struggles to stand up against Toguro. In that moment, Genkai's spirit suddenly manifests through Pooh and speaks to Yusuke. Genkai tells Yusuke that he cannot awaken his true power without experiencing genuine loss. So, someone close to Yusuke must die before his eyes. What the hell are you blabbering about, lady? Unfortunately, Toguro hears all of this, and he chooses Kuwabara as the sacrifice. God, no! Kurama, Hiei, and even Yusuke try to stop Toguro from killing Kuwabara. However, Kuwabara himself is ready to die if it means that Yusuke can win. And in the next moment, Toguro pierces Kuwabara's chest with his hand, killing Kuwabara on the spot.
Now beat him for all of us. Make my death count, okay?
Oh, okay. I'll be back after a brief crying session. After that, Yusuke gets bloody serious now, and he's unleashing God knows what kind of aura from his body. Yusuke is so freaking angry that even Toguro feels a shiver for the first time. Ooh, looks like this is the end for you, buddy. The 38th episode begins with Toguro realizing that he was itching for this kind of fight for so long. Finally, Toguro is fighting a battle where he cannot predict the outcome. You're a strange dude. Toguro then tells Yusuke that it's crucial to abandon everything for true strength. However, Yusuke thinks that's just stupid, and the true strength comes when you try to protect someone you love. After that brief exchange of philosophy, the final battle between these monsters continues. Yusuke manages to hurt Toguro with his maximum spirit gun blast, so Toguro reveals his next transformation. 100% of 100%. Are you for real right now? Anyway, Toguro becomes uglier after powering up, but Yusuke isn't scared one bit. Instead, Yusuke puts every bit of his energy into his final energy blast, and Toguro tries to stop it with brute force. Eventually, Toguro is able to crush the spirit gun blast, but the next moment, his body starts to rupture because of all the damage he just took. Toguro falls to the ground, and before dying, he realizes that Yusuke just went beyond 100% because he was fighting for others.
Thank you again, Yusuke Urameshi.
Took you long enough, eh? Now, Toguro is dead, and our boy Yusuke has won the bloody dark tournament. The 39th episode begins with Yusuke being all sensitive about Kuwabara's death, but in a shocking turn of events, Kuwabara gets back on his feet. Shockingly, Toguro failed to damage Kuwabara's vital organs, so he was never truly dead. However, he hid that from Yusuke because all that grief was working all too well against Toguro. Man, Yusuke must be so pissed.
Yusuke, teach him any more and you'll actually kill him. That's kind of against the point, isn't it?
Also, Do you remember how Sakyo bet his own life on Toguro? Well, the dude honors his words and activates a self-destruct mechanism set to destroy the stadium in 15 minutes. Not only that, but Sakyo chooses to die in the blast along with his failed ambitions. Fortunately though, Yusuke and all the other good dudes with plot armor get out of the stadium right on time. The 40th episode shows everyone mourning Genkai's death, and Yusuke wonders if his master is still in the spirit realm. However, Kurama explains that the spirit realm is only a temporary station between life and death, and Genkai would have already moved on. So everyone pays respects to the fallen master. Elsewhere, Toguro asks Koenma for his judgment, and he wishes to go to the underworld to atone for his sins. Koenma asks Toguro not to be so harsh on himself, but the big man is serious about getting punished. Then, we learn a bit about Toguro's past. Apparently, 50 years back, a demon named Karen slaughtered all of Toguro's students before the Dark Tournament. The demon even defeated Toguro at that moment. However, Toguro later killed the same douchebag demon and won the tournament. After that, Toguro used his winning wish to become a demon. Sadly, Toguro blamed himself for his students' deaths, and he deliberately chose a path of suffering. Yeah, you really can't hate this guy. After that, Toguro meets Genkai's spirit, who's just angry at the dude for always blaming himself. However, Toguro moves on to hell, and he asks Genkai to watch over Yusuke. Interestingly, Toguro always knew that Yusuke would win, and he would wish for Genkai's return. So, Toguro secretly asked Koenma to preserve Genkai's body. Yusuke, when you meet this guy again, you better give him a hug. As predicted, Yusuke wishes for Genkai to return, and she does return to the living world. The first episode of Season 3 takes us back to the Kubikukuri Island, where we see that Elder Toguro is still alive. You're one stubborn bastard, aren't ya? Later, a strange, unknown man approaches Elder Toguro. In the spirit realm, Koenma learns that something weird is going on in the human world. But the source is not a demon. Koenma knows that this is serious, so he asks Botan to contact Yusuke. Back in the human world, 3 boys challenge Yusuke to a brawl, and our boy agrees. Obviously, this should have been an easy fight, but Kido, one of the students, easily overpowers Yusuke with some strange power called territory. Kido confirms that he isn't a demon, but he's also not a normal human being. Kido's strange power is so strong that it doesn't even let Yusuke move his body.
Welcome, Urameshi. You have become a part of my territory.
Okay, what the hell? Meanwhile, Botan meets Kuwabara and tells him that the humans across the city are suddenly developing supernatural powers. At the same time, Pooh arrives and tells Kuwabara and Botan that Yusuke has been abducted. After investigating for a bit, Kuwabara and Botan find a note instructing them to come to Yojigen Mansion at 11 p.m. The kidnappers want Kuwabara, Hiei, and Kurama to reach the mansion if they want to save Yusuke. The second episode begins with Botan and Kuwabara telling Kurama about Yusuke's abduction. Later, Koenma also learns about this and wonders if it has something to do with strange human powers. However, there's still one person left, Hiei. So, Botan uses a mystic whistle to summon Hiei and tell him everything that's going on. Once the group is complete, they arrive at Yojigen Mansion, where they read a note saying they shouldn't use the word hot. How about cold then? Moving on. The group finds Yusuke, who's still immobilized. Kido explains that as long as Yusuke stands within his territory, he simply cannot move. Kurama, Kuwabara, Botan, and Hiei then enter another room where they sense a strange dimensional energy.
Did you feel that? Yes. When we entered, the energy schematic changed. It feels as though we've somehow been transported to a different space.
Right then, they meet Kaito, a wise-looking guy who's also had this strange territory power. However, Kaito explains that violence is impossible within his territory. That's proven true, because as soon as Hiei tries attacking Kaito, his sword simply shatters. Not only that, but anyone who says the forbidden word inside Kaito's territory loses their soul. So, to test it out, Hiei says the word hot, and his soul gets stripped from his body. Really, Hiei? Kuwabara and Kurama try to free Hiei's soul and Yusuke, but then another member of this territory group arrives, Yanagisawa. Now, Yusuke and his friends are cornered, so they decide to play along and hear what these new guys have to say. The third episode kicks off with Kurama explaining that they shouldn't use the forbidden word. However, Kuwabara then realizes that the temperature inside the room is hot, so he says, yeah, odd. Well, it does rhyme with hot, so Kuwabara loses his soul as well. Oh, that's funny. Guess what? Even Botan makes the same mistake and loses her soul as well.
Souls are the only thing you can't make stronger by training.
Now, only Kurama is left, so he takes on Kaito all alone. Kurama asks Kaito to change the forbidden word, and it should only have certain letters. Now, Kurama and Kaito sit in front of each other, and they try to make each other say the forbidden word. It takes a while, but Kurama does trick Kaito into saying the word. So, Kaito's soul is taken, and the souls of Botan, Hiei, and Kuwabara are back in their bodies. Also, while playing Kaito's game, Kurama uses his plants to knock Yanagisawa unconscious. Since Kaito is defeated, the group moves forward to rescue Yusuke. So, yeah, they should get ready to battle more territory users. The fourth episode kicks off with Yusuke's friends threatening Yanagisawa to open the gate that will lead them to Yusuke. Well, Yanagisawa obliges and ends up opening the gate. However, as soon as Hiei, Botan, Kurama, and Kuwabara move ahead, they get separated by a series of illusions. But eventually, all four of them reach where Yusuke is being restrained by Kido. However, Kido reveals that one of Yusuke's friends is actually an imposter. It means that one person among Hiei, Kurama, Botan, or Kuwabara is being held captive in God knows where. Now, Kido asks Yusuke to ask a series of questions to his friends and figure out who's the imposter. Kido probably would have been a fan of Among Us.
Let me guess. If I don't find the fake one in 10 minutes, you'll kill the real one.
Oh, by the way, it was Yanagisawa who created a clone of Yusuke's friend. Dude can create pretty accurate clones who even have the memories of the original person. Anyway, back to the game. Yusuke asks all sorts of questions to his friends, including Botan's measurements. However, the imposter, wherever that is, answers all the questions correctly. Still, Kido asks Yusuke to hit the person whom he thinks is the imposter, and, well, Yusuke hits Kuwabara. Why? Well, it's simple. Yusuke thinks that only Kuwabara is stupid enough to get captured by these guys. Once all this drama is over, Genkai reveals herself. Apparently, it was Genkai who planned all this because she wanted Yusuke and everyone to experience the territory abilities. Really? All of this to teach a lesson. Wait, actually, that's kinda really smart. Moving forward, Kido explains that they reached out to Genkai after they awakened these strange abilities. Interestingly, these abilities are popping up because someone is trying to build a tunnel between the human and the demon realm. Sakyo always wanted to do this, but since that guy is dead, someone else is wanting to build this damn tunnel. The 5th episode begins with Genkai telling Yusuke and everyone else about the tunnel. She reveals that in the past month, around 30 people have suddenly developed strange abilities. Meanwhile, in the spirit realm, Koenma talks about the 4 phases required to completely open a boundary tunnel. Phase 1 is the increased Makai insect activity. Phase 2 involves humans awakening special abilities. Phase 3 is when D-class or weaker demons appear in the human world. And finally, there's Phase 4, when the tunnel reaches 2 kilometers wide, C and B-class demons can freely pass through between the 2 worlds. God damn, this means the tunnel's already in the 2nd phase? Koenma also reveals that Toguro was a B-class demon.
Not even my father and all his armies could defeat the S-class demons.
So yeah, this entire thing is troublesome. And let's just not talk about A-class or S-class demons, because not even the spirit realm can control those things. Elsewhere, Elder Toguro speaks with the one from the opening sequence. This man is Senui, and he's the asshole who's building this tunnel. For some nonsensical reason, Senui thinks that humanity deserves judgment. Ah, playing God, are we? That's always went well. We also meet Ichigaki, the gatekeeper, who's responsible for maintaining the portal between the 2 worlds. However, Ichigaki can't complete the 4th phase by breaking the ultimate protective shield between the human and demon realm. Back at the mansion, Genkai restores Kaito's soul and explains that the territory abilities awakened right after the Dark Tournament. Interesting. At the same time, Koenma warns that the tunnel is already 1.3 kilometers wide, so they have about 3 weeks to defeat the spellcaster. Oh, no pressure then. However, before taking the first step, Yusuke's team must figure out who exactly is doing this and why. Of course, everyone is worried after learning all this, but Hiei doesn't really care. He's only disappointed for still being a B-class demon, so he leaves. Really? The 6th episode kicks off with Yusuke's group trying to find the center of the tunnel, and their search leads them to another territory user, Murota, who can read minds within a 30-meter radius. Murota tries to fight them off, but Yusuke defeats him quite easily. Unfortunately though, Murata doesn't know crap about the tunnel. Bummer! Still, Yusuke decides that they can use Murota's mind-reading ability to find one of the real culprits. Surprisingly, the trick works because Murota senses a dark personality who's thinking about killing people. And guess who this person is? Of course, it's Senui. However, the moment Senui looks at Yusuke's group, Murota is shot in the head, and Senui leaves as if nothing happened. Poor dude! Jeez!
This is the so-called bullet he took.
Doesn't look like metal.
Soon after, Yusuke's group takes Murota to the hospital, where they learn that the guy was actually shot by a piece of a pencil eraser. Jesus! Fortunately though, Murota survives and tells Yusuke's group what he read in Sensui's mind. Apparently, 7 people are working with Sensui to open the tunnel: Dark Angel, Gatekeeper, Sniper, Gourmet, Game Master, Doctor, and Seaman. Together, these guys are called the 7. Meanwhile, Sensui is still looking for someone who can cut through the final protective field that separates the demon and human realm. Back at the hospital, we see that a doctor is keeping an eye on Yusuke's group. Looks like Sensui's got spies everywhere. The 7th episode begins with Yusuke's group sensing another territory user inside the hospital. Murota uses his ability and finds out that this person is one of the 7, and he is a doctor. In the next moment, some demon insects inject Murota and Yanagisawa with a virus, which turns their skin green. Apparently, the enemy's ability allows him to infect anyone with his territory using the Makai insects. That's scary. Kido now searches the building and finds the doctor, whose real name is Kamiya. Apparently, the doctor can also cut flesh with his bare hands, on top of creating viruses using his mind. In an instant, the doctor paralyzes Kido so the guy can't move a muscle. However, when Yusuke arrives in the room, Kido uses his ability to write Kamiya's name and reveal the doctor's true identity.
I get so tired of operating on eggshells.
Kamiya reveals that his virus will kill the infected within 30 minutes, so Yusuke starts fighting the man. However, Kamiya is a troublesome enemy because not only can he not feel pain, but he can also reattach severed body parts. Keiko and Shizuru also arrive in the hospital while looking for Kuwabara and Yusuke. Back in the spirit realm, Koenma learns the tunnel's center is somewhere deep underground, and Yusuke's group must find it quickly. The 8th episode begins with the doctor bragging about his incredible abilities to Yusuke. Meanwhile, Shizuru, Keiko, and Pooh are being chased by a swarm of insects, and unfortunately, one of them bites Keiko. To make things worse, the doctor's victims will die in exactly 10 minutes, so Yusuke is left with no choice but to prepare a spirit gun attack. However, Kamiya takes a nurse hostage because, despite his abilities, he can't handle the spirit gun attack. Unfortunately for the doctor, though, the nurse he just took hostage is Yanagisawa in disguise. Yanagisawa throws acid on Kamiya's face to give Yusuke an opening. Kamiya tries to flee like a bloody coward, but Genkai catches him. Eventually, in an act of desperation, Yusuke punches Kamiya through a window. Kamiya sort of dies due to the fall, and right after that, the virus disappears from the infected people's bodies, along with the insects, of course.
Damn it. I had to do it. I had to kill him.
Kinda satisfying. However, Kamiya was still a human, so Yusuke feels bad for killing a fellow human, no matter how big of an he was. So, to save Yusuke from guilt, Genkai revives the doctor by restarting his heart. After waking up, Kamiya reveals that he hates humankind for always being greedy and destructive, so he still wants to kill all humans. I mean, you're spot on with the greed part, but killing all humans is not the solution, my guy. The 9th episode kicks off with Botan telling Yusuke and Kuwabara that the tunnel will now open in just a week. Yeah, their last prediction was wrong, and the tunnel is already 1.7 kilometers, so they should just do whatever they can quickly. The guys also learn that the entrance to the tunnel is somewhere in Airima Cave, so they should head there. However, at this crucial time, Kuwabara wants to attend a concert he's been waiting for like a year. Of course, Yusuke thinks Kuwabara is being an idiot, but he lets Kuwabara go to the concert. Priorities, am I right? Meanwhile, at Airima Cave, Itsuki continues expanding the tunnel, while Sensui realizes that the tunnel sort of has a will of its own. However, they still need someone to break through the spirit realm's protection field. At the same time, Kurama visits Koenma to figure out if Koenma knows who exactly this Sensui is. But Koenma ignores the question. Interesting. While everyone is working their asses off to find the tunnel, Kuwabara is having the time of his life at the concert. However, as soon as he walks out, Kuwabara gets confronted by Kiyoshi, also known as the Seaman. Apparently, Seaman can create powerful liquid creatures by mixing his own blood with water. And since these are all water creatures, it's really tough to land a hit on them. Anyway, Seaman attacks Kuwabara and even hurts some of his friends. While Kuwabara is struggling against Seaman's annoying creatures, Yusuke is wasting his time at an arcade game.
Welcome to Goblin City, where your team of 7 heroes must clash iron with the evil Goblin King.
Just brilliant. The 10th episode kicks off with Botan scolding Yusuke for not checking up on Kuwabara. Interestingly, she can sense that Kuwabara is on the verge of an awakening, so he must be fighting some powerful enemy right now. Yeah, he is. Meanwhile, Seaman traps Kuwabara and his friends inside his water creature and confirms that they can't get out unless Seaman is defeated. Apparently, the water creature is trapping these guys in a dimension different from the original one, so it should be impossible for Kuwabara to attack Seaman. In that moment, Kuwabara unleashes his hidden power, and a streak of energy cuts Seaman's face from inside the creature. Seaman realizes that Kuwabara has the power to cut through dimensions, the exact ability Sensui has been searching for to cut the protection field. Oh gosh. Right after that, Kuwabara manifests a new sword that is capable of cutting through space itself, and Kuwabara strikes Seaman using the same godly sword. Seaman is about to die, but Kuwabara refuses to let him die because, Seaman is also a human.
How can you even want to help me?
When men do what they're supposed to do, it's not always about what they want.
Right after that, Kuwabara collapses to the ground, but fortunately, Botan and Yusuke arrive there. Elsewhere, Sensui's group realizes they have found the ability they needed, so Sniper brings Gourmet, who consumes Elder Toguro to gain his powers. Evil. The next morning, Yusuke's group asks Seaman why in the hell Sensui wants to open the tunnel. Seaman reveals that Sensui is doing all of this because he watched a forbidden videotape called The Black Chapters. Surprisingly, The Black Chapters is a secret spirit realm archive that contains humanity's worst atrocities, like genocide, torture, and whatnot. After watching the tape, Sensui felt so freaking bad that he wanted all of humanity to suffer now. After hearing this, Kurama asks Koenma if he knows who Sensui is, and at this time, Koenma reveals the truth. Shockingly, Sensui was once a spirit detective, much like Yusuke. Sensui was really good, but he watched The Black Chapters and began this crazy mission to exterminate humanity. That kinda makes sense, I guess. The 11th episode begins with Koenma deciding to go to the human realm to handle everything. He's scared that Sensui will release the Black Chapters tape to the world, and that wouldn't really be good. Koenma now meets Yusuke's group and tells them exactly what happened with Sensui. Apparently, Senui was really powerful and cared a lot about justice. 10 years ago, Koenma sent Senui on his final mission to destroy the tunnel to the demon realm that was being built by the Black Club. Always with the frickin' tunnel! At the time, Senui and Itsuki were partners, so they entered Sakyo's palace. Yeah, Sakyo was creating that tunnel, obviously. Anyway, after entering the mansion, Senui saw that some wealthy humans were torturing demons just for their entertainment. That's awful. Expectedly, Senui completely snapped and killed every damn human in that room. After that, Senui simply disappeared and took the tape with him. Right after Koenma finishes up his history lesson, Yusuke senses the presence of Senui and Sniper. Instantly, Sniper attacks Seaman, so he doesn't reveal any more information. But Kuwabara ends up saving Seaman. Now, Yusuke's group confronts Senui and Sniper outside the building. Oh, also, Senui explains that the tunnel will now open in 2 days. God damn! So, Senui desperately wants to capture Kuwabara so the boy can break the final shield.
Rumor is you snapped. You could only deal with the baby stuff.
Without wasting a moment, Yusuke attacks Senui, who is just way more powerful than anyone Yusuke has faced before. The 12th episode begins with Yusuke exchanging blows with Senui, but the former spirit detective is a beast. He blocks almost every attack from Yusuke. On top of that, Senui delivers some really powerful kicks, making things even more difficult for our boy. Meanwhile, Botan learns that Sensui's real objective is to capture Kuwabara, so she tries to warn Yusuke. However, Sniper stops them from exiting the building. Damn! Right after that, Senui launches an attack at the apartment where Yusuke's friends are held up. So, Yusuke sends Kurama and Genkai to save everyone inside the building. Meanwhile, Senui makes Yusuke, Kuwabara, and Kurama chase him through the city. Now, Yusuke's group is divided, just like Senui wanted. To make things worse, Senui makes Yusuke and Kurama separate from Kuwabara by leading them into a crowded area.
This is the place where I end your damn wife!
3, 2, 1.
Now, while Yusuke gets busy fighting Senui, Game Master and Gourmet from the 7 arrive and capture Kuwabara. Once that's done, Senui joins them and they leave together with Kuwabara. However, Yusuke isn't ready to give up, so he grabs a bicycle and starts chasing Senui and his group to save his dear friend. The 13th episode shows that Yusuke is still chasing Senui, but chasing someone on a bicycle isn't the easiest thing in the world. Meanwhile, Genkai and Koenma return to the destroyed apartment, and they save everyone, including Seaman. Obviously, Seaman is just surprised that these guys are helping, even though he'd been such a jerk. At this point, Seaman somewhat realizes that there's a good side to humanity as well. That's right, buddy! At the same time, Gourmet continues to torture Kuwabara to bring forward his dimensional power. Of course, Kuwabara is making things a lot more difficult for the bad guys, but Senui doesn't care a bit. In fact, Senui is chilled out because they can always take Kuwabara's powers if the boy doesn't cooperate.
You crazy freak! Let me go!
Ooh, that's not good. At the same time, Sniper attacks Yusuke's bicycle, and our badass hero tries to grab the truck, but he misses. Now, Sniper activates his territory Death Crest Cross, which allows Sniper to launch objects as projectiles within a 200-meter range. Instantly, Sniper throws stones into the air, and they automatically target Yusuke. Now, Sniper leaves Yusuke in the middle of the road, thinking his stones will keep the boy busy. At the same time, Genkai, Kurama, Botan, and Koenma decide to chase Sensui as well. And surprisingly, Seaman decides to join them in this fight against Sensui. Heck yeah! Dude came to his senses! Elsewhere, Sniper is constantly launching objects at Yusuke while hiding in a forest. So, Yusuke must deal with this Sniper jerkbag if he wants to stop Sensui from completing the tunnel. The 14th episode takes us back to Yusuke and Sniper's fight, and still, Yusuke is only busy dealing with Sniper's projectiles. Eventually, Yusuke realizes that he should move away from Sniper's territory. Meanwhile, Koenma returns to the spirit world to prepare for the worst, because it does seem like Sensui will complete the tunnel. At the same time, Sensui's group finally arrives at the cave, and they continue to piss off Kuwabara, so that the boy will unleash his dimensional slashing power. Back in the forest, Sniper uses a goddamn gasoline truck as a projectile, and when it reaches near Yusuke, he fires a bullet at the truck. Damn! Sniper thinks that the blast must have killed Yusuke, but someone arrived right on time to save our boy. Yup, it's none other than Hiei. Finally deciding to join the fight, eh? Right after that, Hiei dodges every attack from Sniper and finally knocks him unconscious.
No one can stop our justified cause.
Of course, Yusuke wants to chase after Kuwabara because the tunnel is almost complete, but Hiei starts fighting Yusuke instead. Dude, why? Yusuke doesn't know what the hell is happening, but he still fights Hiei on par. After that, Hiei reveals that he wanted to test if Yusuke is still strong enough to take on the big fight. In fact, by fighting him, Hiei has helped Yusuke release his full power again. Okay, that's smart. Yusuke now asks Hiei to help him in this fight, and Hiei refuses initially, but agrees afterwards. However, Yusuke promises to secretly give Hiei the black chapters if he agrees to help. After a while, Yusuke and Hiei reach the cave, where they also see Genkai's group. The 15th episode kicks off with Genkai explaining that Airima Cave is like a maze, so Yusuke, Kurama, and Hiei should enter first so the group doesn't get lost together. However, Seaman decides to join Yusuke's group to show them the way. Deep inside the tunnel, Yusuke's group comes across a large door, which is actually an entry point to a video game. This video game is called Devil City, and there must be 7 people to play this real-life video game and defeat the final boss called Game King. Really? That's the best name you guys could come up with. Apparently, this is the Game Master's ability, which allows him to bring video games into real-life environments. Anyway, Yusuke needs 7 people to play this damn game, so he brings Genkai, Yanagisawa, and Kaito to join them. Moving on, Yusuke and his 6 friends now enter through the door, where they meet Game Master. The Game Master tells the group that they must play Game Battler, where they have to win 4 out of 7 games against the Game King. The first game is a level 7 tennis match, and since Seaman is really good at tennis, apparently, he steps in for the first round. The tennis match begins, and Seaman does battle against some genie-like opponent, and the Game Master tries to distract Seaman by throwing some petty insults.
How the hell's he supposed to concentrate when that little bitch won't shut up?
But that's precisely what the real Goblin King does to distract you.
But Seaman keeps his focus and wins the tennis match. Amazing! The 16th episode begins with Genkai deciding to play the next game, a level 6 shooting game called Battle Heli. In the game, Genkai will get 3 helicopters, so there are 3 chances to destroy the enemy helicopter and win the game. Of course, this won't be easy, as Genkai will have to go through several obstacles. However, who knew that Genkai is an incredible gamer? Surprisingly, the old master of Yusuke destroys everything in her path, along with the enemy's helicopter, in her first attempt. Genkai, ever thought of live streaming Call of Duty for a living? Regardless, it's time for Yusuke to take on the next game, which is a level 1 martial arts fighting game.
Yeah, wouldn't you know it's a fighting game when my turn comes up? I'm feeling lucky, old lady, fortune tapping at my elbow.
And just like Genkai, Yusuke gets 3 chances to defeat his opponent. Unfortunately, Yusuke loses 1 life after getting killed by some demon minions. Come on, Yusuke, get bloody serious! Fortunately, Yusuke doesn't repeat the same mistake in the second attempt and defeats the minions to finally reach the genie boss. The genie gets real massive, so Yusuke grabs a growth potion like an experienced gamer and gets massive as well. Then, he punches the genie boss and wins the 3rd game for his team. That's more like it! Now, Yusuke's team only needs 1 round to get the hell out of this video game situation, so the game master himself decides to play against Yusuke's team. The game is a general knowledge quiz on level G, where a player must answer 10 questions correctly to win, and since Kaito is a brainiac, he decides to go first. Surprisingly, Kaito answers the first 5 questions correctly, but then, the Game Master starts answering the questions before they even appear on screen. Turns out, Game Master has memorized the algorithm of the game, so he knows exactly what question will appear next. Sadly, Game Master defeats Kaito using the same strategy. Damn it! At this point, the tunnel needs only 2 hours to complete, so Yusuke and his friends start to get restless. The 17th episode begins with Yusuke's group getting ready for the next game. They also realize that the Game Master only cares about stalling Yusuke's group until the tunnel gets completed. The Game Master has absolutely no interest in killing anyone. Right then, Kurama explains that if the Game Master's video game is real, its ending will also be real. In Game Battler, if the Game King dies, he loses. So the Game Master will also die if he loses even once. Damn! For some reason, the Game Master doesn't know the risk of playing his own game. Anyway, the next game is a puzzle on the greatest difficulty. So the smartest of the group, Kurama, steps forward. It's a block game where a player needs to react really fast. Before the game starts, Kurama asks why in the hell the Game Master is doing this. And guess what? This stupid kid wants the demon world to unleash upon the human realm because he hates going to school. You know, I actually kinda get you, kid. I totally get you. Everyone hates school. But demons? Really? After that, Kurama tells the Game Master that the kid will die if he loses this game. Of course, the Game Master gets shaken after realizing that Kurama is telling the truth and Senui is just using him. Expectedly, the shock value works as the Game Master starts messing up the next game and eventually loses.
I don't want to die! I don't want to die!
And yeah, the poor kid dies right after losing the puzzle game. Now, Genkai sends Kaito and Yanagisawa back to the city with the Game Master's body. Meanwhile, Yusuke, Kurama, Hiei, and Seaman walk ahead to finally confront Senui. At the same time, Koenma also arrives and joins the group. After walking for a bit, Yusuke finally sees Senui and Itsuki, who are holding Kuwabara captive. Gosh, that's a lot of demons. The 18th episode begins with Senui explaining that the tunnel is expanding on its own, and it will finish in just 30 minutes. These guys need to hurry up, God! The weaker C-class demons are already eager to eat human flesh, and Sensui says that B-class or A-class demons might be waiting behind the weakling demons. Anyway, Gourmet comes forward to deal with Yusuke and his friends. This Gourmet dude is dangerous, as he can absorb a person's ability by eating them, as he did with Elder Toguro. Shockingly, Gourmet also ate Murota. Yeah, the dude who could read minds. What? Apparently, Gourmet captured Murota in the middle of all of this mess and ate him. Now, Gourmet has the ability to read minds. Moving on, Kurama steps forward to punish Gourmet, and he doesn't think anything about it. So, Gourmet is unable to read what Kurama is planning. Right then, Kurama seemingly kills Gourmet by splitting his head open with his rose whip, but right after that, Elder Toguro comes out of Gourmet's head. Seriously with this dude! Toguro then explains that even though Gourmet ate him, Toguro took control over his body from within.
I slowly took him over. It was palpable. A fear so thick I could eat it.
Of course he did. On top of that, Elder Toguro now has every one of Gourmet's abilities. Next, Toguro creates a smoke box to make Kurama blind and attacks him using mind reading. However, it turns out that Kurama is safe, and he has actually trapped Toguro inside a plant. This is the Tree of Depravity, and it shows Toguro an illusion in which he's fighting Kurama. Since Toguro can regenerate, he will endlessly fight Kurama in that illusion without even realizing the truth. Dude, that's brutal! I kinda love it. The 19th episode kicks off with Kurama, Hiei, Kuwabara, and Mitarai being swallowed by Reverse Man, a demon that exists between dimensions. This demon is Itsuki's pet, and it has taken everyone into a strange dimension. However, the demon didn't take Yusuke. Why? Well, it's simple. Sensui wants to fight the boy without any interference. However, Yusuke's friends can still watch his fight against the former spirit detective. Meanwhile, Itsuki hangs out with Yusuke's group and then tells them that he and Sensui were once enemies. However, they became friends because they both love the same TV drama.
You're the first demon to ever make me laugh.
Seriously? That's gotta be a joke. At the same time, Sensui tells Yusuke that at this point, he only cares about fighting Yusuke. Now, Yusuke starts attacking Sensui, who blocks every attack quite easily. Of course, Yusuke is stronger, but Sensui can read all of Yusuke's movements. However, Yusuke pulls out a smart move and punches the ground, so there's dust all around. Thanks to the low visibility, Yusuke manages to land some heavy punches on Sensui, who falls into the water. However, Sensui quickly comes out and flexes his scarred body, which he got while doing some intense training. The 20th episode continues the fight between Yusuke and Sensui, who's decided not to hold back on Yusuke. In the next moment, Sensui overwhelms Yusuke by launching several energy projectiles at him. While Yusuke is giving it his all, Botan is outside the cave, and she confirms that the tunnel will be completed in about 10 minutes. Meanwhile, Koenma is also running towards the battlefield like he's some athlete. Back at the battle location, Sensui is launching one attack after another on Yusuke, and from different directions. After getting annoyed, Yusuke decides not to dodge the energy attacks, so he instead punches them aside to get closer to Sensui. Yusuke now lands a series of punches on Sensui and suddenly jumps into the water. After a few seconds, Yusuke comes out of the water and wraps his wet shirt around Sensui's hands, so the big guy can't use his hands to launch energy projectiles. That's a 200 IQ move right there. The strategy works for a bit, and Yusuke manages to injure Sensui, but then Sensui transforms his entire arm into a powerful energy gun. Also, for some reason, Sensui seems and sounds different now. He sounds more violent, and Itsuki explains Sensui possesses 7 different personalities, thanks to past life trauma.
His subconscious created them to cope with the madness. It's an impulsive defense mechanism.
Itsuki says that up until now, Yusuke was fighting Minoru, the strategist. But now, another personality has taken over Sensui. This time, it's Kazuya, who is a ruthless killing specialist. While Itsuki explains Sensui's multiple personality disorder, Kazuya completely overwhelms Yusuke by shooting his arms and legs. Kazuya gets incredibly close to killing Yusuke, but fortunately, Koenma arrives right on time to stop Sensui. The 21st episode kicks off with Koenma removing his pacifier to reveal the Demon Seal ring. Interestingly, Koenma has been storing his spirit energy in the pacifier for years. Now, this ring has become a weapon that can cast a boundary so strong that even S-class demons can't cross it. Koenma then threatens to seal the tunnel and trap Sensui forever, unless, of course, he stops. Oh, good. So, problem solved then? However, before Koenma can activate the seal, Yusuke knocks the ring out of Koenma's hand and catches it. Obviously, Koenma's like, dude, what the hell? But Yusuke says that he cares only about defeating Sensui.
One of you in there said you didn't care about the tunnel now. Well, that's exactly how I feel.
Yusuke took the entire thing on his ego, and he asks Sensui to reveal his strongest personality. Well, Sensui obliges and reveals Shinobu, the most fearsome personality within Sensui. Shinobu is so damn strong that a golden aura surrounds him, like he's freaking God, sparkling like some kind of Dragon Ball character, lordy. The 22nd episode kicks off with Koenma explaining that the golden aura around Shinobu is actually the sacred light energy. It's a rare and powerful aura that even Master Genkai never achieved. Goddamn. As advertised, Shinobu is extremely powerful with this sacred light energy, as he easily breaks Yusuke's arm with a mere tap. Also, in the middle of this, Yusuke loses Koenma's Demon Seal ring, and now Golden Shinobu is holding the ring. Great job, Yusuke. Fortunately though, that's not a problem for Koenma, who fires a beam at the ring to unleash the barrier. Finally, Sensui is trapped inside the barrier that, according to Koenma, even an S-class demon can't break. However, for God's sake, Shinobu has the sacred light energy and notices that there's the word sacred in it. It means that this is a holy power, much like the power Koenma has used to create the so-called unbreakable barrier. So even though Shinobu struggles for a bit, he eventually shatters the barrier by destroying the overestimated Demon Seal ring. Jeez, good guys might be done for. Obviously, Koenma loses all hope of defeating Shinobu now, but Kurama realizes that Yusuke is planning something. The 23rd episode takes us back to the battlefield, where Kurama realizes that Yusuke is planning to risk his own life to unleash the true power of his friends. Yeah, just like how Kuwabara did at the Dark Tournament. Well, that sounds about right, because Yusuke starts charging towards Sensui despite knowing full well he'll get bodied. Meanwhile, Kuwabara is stuck in the reverse man's dimension along with Kurama, Hiei, and Seaman. To break free of this damn thing, Kuwabara tries to unleash his dimensional sword that can cut through space, but he fails. At the same time, Yusuke continues to take one hell of a beating from Senui, so eventually, Kuwabara is able to summon the dimensional blade and slice open the reverse man's dimension. Kuwabara, Kurama, Hiei, and Mitarai rush into the cave to save their friend, who's acting all high and mighty right now. Sadly, they're too late, because Senui lands a fatal blow on Yusuke. Jesus, you can't die here, Yusuke. We still got one more season left. Moving on, Yusuke is lying lifeless on the ground, and Genkai senses from outside the cave that Yusuke's energy has vanished. Kuwabara checks on Yusuke and finds out that his friend's heart has stopped. Damn! And if that's not bad enough already, Senui confirms that the tunnel to the demon realm has been completed. The 24th episode kicks off with the door to the demon realm finally opening. In an instant, several weak demons start to enter the human realm, but Hiei kills them all. At the same time, Hiei pushes Senui into the demon realm and follows him, along with Kuwabara and Kurama. Koenma explains that the weaker demons were wiped out, so that's good, but soon stronger demons will realize the tunnel is open. That's when things will turn truly ugly. While chasing Senui, Yusuke's friends reach the final protective field that's still blocking the powerful demon energy.
The only way you'll get to me and satisfy Yusuke's dying wish is if Kuwabara can get his jig and toe up again.
Senui has the sacred light aura, so he can pass through the barrier. However, Kurama and Hiei can't, cause, they're demons. Now, the only way to pass through and chase down Senui is to cut the barrier with Kuwabara's dimensional blade. Sure, Kuwabara knows that cutting the barrier would be crazy, but he does that anyway because he wants that sweet, sweet revenge. Meanwhile, in the spirit realm, King Enma deploys the Special Defense Squad, aka SDS. These guys are the elite hunters who can kill strong demons, and right now, they're needed to protect the human realm. Now, the group finally enters the demon realm and catches up to Senui. The group starts fighting Senui, who uses his energy to create both armor and weapons. Hiei attacks the evil dude with the Black Dragon Wave, while Kurama and Kuwabara also launch their strongest attacks. Unfortunately for them though, Senui is just too damn powerful, so he overpowers all of them without even breaking a sweat. Am I the only one who's kinda scared for these guys now? The 25th episode begins with Pooh transforming into, something, and flying towards Yusuke's body. Back inside the cave, Koenma realizes something very strange. Shockingly, even though Yusuke's heart has stopped, his spirit still hasn't left his body. That is strange. At that moment, the SDS arrives in the cave, and they start sealing the tunnel to the demon realm. But while doing all of that stuff, the SDS also wants to kill Yusuke. What? Shockingly, according to the SDS's captain, Yusuke is the descendant of a powerful, wait for it, demon. God.
Spirit Detective Yusuke Urameshi, a direct descendant of the Masaku.
You're out of your mind.
Y'all are revealing this now? Apparently, this Yusuke demon stuff happened because of a rare phenomenon called demonkin atavism, which basically allows demonic blood to resurface generations later. Yeah, Yusuke's parents and grandparents were humans, but Yusuke must have a demon ancestor, and nobody knows exactly who that was. Anyway, the spirit realm wants to kill Yusuke before his demon powers awaken. But right then, Pooh arrives on the scene in his new bird-like transformation to protect Yusuke. But in the next moment, Yusuke's body begins glowing red and comes back to life with an overwhelming demonic energy. After coming back to life, Yusuke confirms that he is still the same person, and he still wants to beat the crap out of that Senui guy. So without wasting any more time with the fancy suits from the spirit realm, Yusuke gets on Pooh along with Koenma and rides towards the demon realm. Yusuke finds Senui and challenges him for a second round, and this time, Yusuke has the demon power to help him. Quite convenient. The 26th episode begins with Kuwabara, Kurama, and Hiei shocked to see Yusuke alive. On top of that, Yusuke is flexing his demon energy now, so they're really confused, and of course, worried about Yusuke.
Those three have become as strong now as they were when they watched Urameshi die.
Back in the demon realm, the SDS squad realizes that Yusuke's power is equal to an S-class demon. Oh, and yeah, Senui is on the same level, so this is gonna be one hell of a fight. Anyway, the second round between Senui and Yusuke begins, and they start exchanging some punches and kicks. Sure, Yusuke is stronger now, but he didn't get a manual for this demon power, so he struggles to control the immense power at first. Regardless, the shockwave of Yusuke and Sensui's fight is so massive that Yusuke's friends decide to move back a little. Yeah, I'd watch this from a safe distance, y'all. During the battle, Sensui's 7 personalities start to argue internally, but even then, he manages to overpower Yusuke by a small margin. Koenma also realizes that Yusuke still hasn't managed to control that new power, and that's when Yusuke hears a mysterious voice that guides him on how to use this power.
You are the one, at last. Are you?
Suddenly, a white light comes out of Yusuke, and he unleashes a demon transformation, which is more menacing and, of course, has long hair. Ooh, this is getting exciting. The 27th episode shows us Yusuke's demon transformation more clearly. He has long white hair and strange demon markings. He looks like a total badass. Moving on, Yusuke continues his fight with Senui, and this time, our boy dominates the enemy quite easily. Senui doesn't even stand a chance against Yusuke, who gives one hell of a beating to all of Sensui's annoying personalities. After getting Senui humbled, Yusuke launches his final spirit gun, which sends Senui flying across the goddamn desert. However, Yusuke realizes something strange. Apparently, the last spirit gun attack wasn't entirely under his control. The mysterious voice that helped Yusuke unleash this transformation sort of took control over his body. I wonder who this demon is. Soon enough, Senui is defeated but still alive, and Itsuki tells Yusuke that Senui has a terminal illness, and he has only about 2 weeks left to live. Senui now explains that after witnessing humanity's cruelty, he had lost faith in mankind. After that, he wanted to reach the demon realm, where he could die at the hands of a demon. But weren't there demons in the human realm? Anyway, Senui now thanks Yusuke for the fight and dies peacefully. Now, Itsuki walks away with Sensui's body, and Yusuke wonders if he should look for this demon ancestor in the demon realm.
If my ancestor is here and still alive, we have to find him!
However, Koenma says that the tunnel between worlds will close soon, so they don't have time to walk around in the demon realm for a reunion. The 28th episode shows Yusuke and his friends getting out of that wretched cave. Keiko reunites with Yusuke, and she loves her boyfriend's new rowdy look. Meanwhile, SDS decides not to fight Yusuke because the tunnel is closed, so why go through more trouble, right? However, King Enma is pissed at Koenma for disobeying his orders by hanging out with Demon Yusuke. Later, we see that the remaining members of the Seven and the territory users are now leading normal lives. Hiei destroys that Black Chapter videotape because it has no use going forward. At the same time, Koenma has refused to return to the spirit realm because the human realm is more fun. Yusuke and Kuwabara also go back to school, but Yusuke just can't stop thinking about his demon ancestor. Don't worry, bud. You'll learn about him soon enough. In the first episode of the 4th season, we see Yusuke leading a normal life and skipping school again. Later, Yusuke meets Koenma, who tells the boy that the spirit realm may still consider him a threat because of his demon heritage. However, Yusuke is more interested in finding out more about his mysterious ancestor. Yusuke then visits Genkai to see if she has some answers. She doesn't, but Genkai tells Yusuke to visit Kuroko, the very first spirit detective, who's now living a peaceful life. At Kuroko's place, Yusuke also meets Kuroko's notorious children.
You're Kuroko?
Yeah, Genkai told me she'd be sending you here soon. She said I'd relate to you because you're a pain in the ass.
Kuroko's husband also arrives to greet Yusuke. Now, while Yusuke is talking to this lovely family, 3 demons appear to take Yusuke to the demon realm. Apparently, someone has summoned Yusuke, and only he can answer questions for the boy. Answers in the demon realm? Yeah, sure, why not? The second episode begins with the 3 demons introducing themselves. Their leader, Hokushin, is actually an S-class demon, while the other 2 are A-class. Damn! Hokushin tells Yusuke that the boy's true father, Ryzen, has called for him. Apparently, Ryzen is one of the most powerful rulers in the demon realm, and is known as the god of fighting. However, Ryzen hasn't eaten humans for nearly 1,000 years, which made his kingdom vulnerable. Interesting. Hokushin further explains that 3 equally powerful demons have been fighting for the demon realm for hundreds of years. However, if Ryzen dies, the balance will collapse, and the other 2 demons will likely start a war.
Something isn't clicking, but I can't put my finger on it.
So Ryzen wants Yusuke to return to the demon realm and help them. That's surely an interesting story, but Yusuke knows that these 3 demons are hiding something. They always are. On top of that, Hokushin confirms that he also eats humans to grow in power, so that pisses off Yusuke, and the boy knocks him down with a single punch. Yusuke then asks Hokushin to tell the freaking truth, all of it. The third episode kicks off with Hokushin admitting that he wants to stop eating humans, but other powerful demons still do, so they have to maintain that sweet power balance. However, their leader, Ryzen, is indeed growing weak because he has refused to eat humans, so they desperately need Yusuke to help Ryzen. Sure, Yusuke needs time to think, so the demons agree to visit Yusuke again in a week. Right after the demons leave, Kuroko reveals that the spirit realm has secretly ordered her to kill Yusuke because he's a goddamn demon as well. Of course, Kuroko refused to do such an awful thing, but she's also kind of afraid of Yusuke.
I hope that because of our shared experience, I could offer some advice, but it seems you have a lot more in common with those 3 now than you do with me. There is nothing to say.
Elsewhere, the other 2 powerful rulers of the demon realm begin making their moves. Yomi, the blind demon king with multiple horns, asks Kurama to join his side. Meanwhile, Mukoro, a powerful female demon, invites Hiei to fight beside her after Ryzen's inevitable defeat. Of course, Kurama and Hiei don't like fighting for demons anymore, but they both agree to return to the demon realm. Back in the human world, Kuwabara is serious about his future, so he's focused on his studies. At the same time, Yusuke says goodbye to Keiko and says that he'll return from the demon realm in about 3 years. Not only that, but Yusuke also promises to marry Keiko once he's back. Keiko also confirms that she loves Yusuke. Aww. The 4th episode begins with Yusuke telling Kuwabara and everyone else that he's leaving for the demon realm. Kuwabara gets so furious that he even punches Yusuke. Dude, slow down! At the same time, Koenma reveals that the spirit realm no longer considers Yusuke a spirit detective. In fact, they want to kill the boy. So, it's not safe for Yusuke to be in the human realm anyway. See, Kuwabara? At the same time, Kurama and Hiei also reveal that they've been called by the other 2 demon kings, and that they're going because they've had enough ramen. Kuwabara doesn't understand any of this, but Genkai confirms that these 3 are going to Demon Realm because they are all looking for some answers. Anywho, after that heartfelt conversation, Yusuke, Kurama, and Hiei finally leave for the demon frickin' realm. Hokushin meets Yusuke and takes him to Ryzen. After walking for days, Yusuke finally meets Ryzen, his true father.
Why did you have to get involved? When I was fighting Senui, what did you do? Tell me or I'm gonna kick your ass!
Instantly, Ryzen starts fighting Yusuke, and even though he's basically starving, Ryzen defeats Yusuke quite easily. However, Yusuke also impresses Ryzen with his spirit gun, so Ryzen offers Yusuke to train with him if he wants to defeat Mukuro and Yomi. After accepting the offer, Yusuke asks Ryzen, "Hey dude, why aren't you eating humans?" But Ryzen says that Yusuke will get his answers when the boy gets stronger. The 5th episode begins with Yusuke starting his training with Hokushin and the other demons in Ryzen's territory. Meanwhile, in Mukuro's fortress, Hiei has spent almost 6 months fighting hundreds of A-class demons. During this time, Hiei remembers his past and the land of glaciers, the place of the Ice Maidens. Hiei thinks about his mother, who once gave birth to twins, Yukina and Hiei. However, the elders discarded Hiei because male children are considered cursed by the Ice Maidens. That's awful. Hiei's mother gave her all to save Hiei, but the poor child was thrown off the floating island. Fortunately though, one of Hina's friends secretly placed a sort of holy stone necklace on the baby, which helped Hiei to survive. Since then, Hiei only wanted one thing: to destroy the land of glaciers.
The way he spoke, I wonder how much he really knows about my quest.
Hiei also remembers how he never revealed to Yukina that he lost her brother. Yeah, man, why didn't you? After we learn about Hiei's haunting past, Mukuro arrives and asks Hiei to fight Shigure, the doctor who performed Hiei's evil eye transplant. Shockingly, during that nonsensical eye surgery, Hiei lost almost all of his powers, but he rebuilt all of his strength from scratch. Also, it was Shigure who asked Hiei not to reveal his identity to Yukina. Staying away from Yukina was basically Hiei's payment to Shigure for the eye surgery. Now, Shigure asks Hiei to defeat him in battle, and if he does, Shigure will consider his payment fulfilled. So without wasting any more time, Hiei starts fighting Shigure. The 6th episode begins with Hiei thinking about how he met Shigure. Apparently, after surviving the fall from the cliff, Hiei grew up with some demon thieves, and over time, the boy became a fearsome warrior. But one day he lost the Holy Stone necklace, and in desperation, he asked Shigure to give him the Jagon Eye. This eye was crucial but Hiei lost his spiritual energy during the operation. After that, Shigure helped Hiei to regain some of his strength from absolutely nothing. Back in the present, Hiei and Shigure exchange some heavy blows, and Hiei slices off Shigure's head, but loses one of his arms. Ooh, that's gotta be so painful. After a lot of hacking and slashing, the match between Hiei and Shigure ends in a draw. Then, we see another flashback and learn that Hiei actually found the land of glaciers using the Jagon Eye. However, his mother was already dead, and the village was sort of destroyed. Hiei's sister, Yukina, had also left the village. Years later, Hiei found Yukina in the human realm, but he never revealed his true identity. Mukuro learns all about Hiei's past, and she simply is impressed. Sadly, Hiei has sustained serious injuries, and he sort of dies. But Mukuro revives the boy because she thinks Hiei still has a purpose to live and get stronger. The 7th episode shows us that Kurama is now with Yomi, and he's working as an advisor. Apparently, Yomi wants Kurama's amazing mind to deal with the entire Ryzen situation. Yomi thinks that Ryzen will die in a year, and a war between the two demon kings will take place after that. Yomi also knows that Kurama, Hiei, and Yusuke will play a crucial role in this war, so he at least wants Kurama by his side. However, Yomi can't bring himself to fully trust Kurama, and to explain why, Yomi takes Kurama to meet a demon that blinded Yomi years ago. Apparently, Kurama and Yomi were once partners, and they led a group of demon thieves. At the time, Yomi was reckless and impulsive, and Kurama didn't like any of that. Anyway, during a raid, Yomi was ambushed by a powerful demon who blinded him. The demon then escaped, and Yomi actually never found out who ordered that filthy demon to attack him. But now, Yomi has actually captured that demon, who reveals that it was none other than Kurama who gave that order.
He was Yoko. Kurama.
What? Surprisingly, Kurama thought of Yomi as a liability, and Yomi understands that very well. So, instead of killing, Yomi asks him to be his advisor, and if Kurama does something cheeky, Yomi will kill Kurama's human mother in the human realm. The 8th episode takes us back to Yomi's place, where Kurama has agreed to play Yomi's game. However, Yomi has ordered his most trustworthy demon minions, Kara and Shachi, to keep an eye on Kurama just in case. Anywho, Kurama tells Yomi that he must find 6 powerful fighters to make sure that Yomi's nation gets stronger. And to find these fighters, Kurama returns to the human realm. On Earth, Kurama decides to secretly train Chu, Jin, Toya, Rinku, Suzuki, and Shishiwakamaru under Genkai's guidance. During this time, Kurama also deals with Kara, who is apparently possessing Kurama's stepbrother's body on Yomi's order.
You're lucky, demon. I do have a use for you.
Kurama spends almost half a year doing all of this stuff and returns to the demon realm with his 6 fighters. Obviously, Yomi is impressed that Kurama was able to weather such strong fighters, so he makes Kurama his military chancellor. Amazing! As expected, Shachi doesn't like the fact that Kurama is climbing ranks, so he tries to kill him. However, Kurama reveals his previously hidden demon fox form and kills Shachi like it's another Tuesday. Yeah, don't ever mess with Kurama. The 9th episode begins with Yusuke finally getting strong enough to challenge Ryzen. However, this supposedly true father has grown weak because of hunger. In a desperate situation, Ryzen finally reveals his past. Apparently, 700 years ago, demons freely roamed the human realm, and at that time, Ryzen met a young woman. This compassionate young woman intentionally filled her body with poisons to create cures for others. Wait, you can do that? Oh, right. Anyway, Ryzen was injured when he entered the woman's home, and she offered the poor demon food. Obviously, instead of killing her, Ryzen fell in love with the woman, and they made crazy love. After leaving her, Ryzen vowed never to eat another human until he met her again. Of course, the woman later died after giving birth, but Ryzen has waited all these years hoping to meet the woman's reincarnation one day. Aww. Also, Yusuke is the descendant of that woman, and, of course, Ryzen.
Have you ever been in love?
Yeah, I guess.
Really? Then you understand why I made my sacrifice.
After showing Yusuke this cute love story, Ryzen tells Yusuke that Yomi plans to dominate the human and spirit realms. Fortunately though, Mukuro wants to maintain the current balance. Shortly after this, Ryzen dies from starvation. Wait, that's it? Seriously? Regardless, Ryzen's death has finally shaken the power balance in the demon realm. Yomi and Mukuro also learn about Ryzen's death, so it's about to get real ugly real soon. Yusuke doesn't want to waste time, and he instantly heads out to meet Yomi. The 10th episode kicks off with Yusuke's conversation with Yomi, who clearly wants war to take control of the demon realm. However, Yusuke suggests that they handle this by hosting a tournament. Naturally, the winner of the tournament will become the mighty ruler of the demon realm. Good, another tournament. Why not? At this point, Mukuro is also here, and after some initial dilemma, everyone agrees on the idea of the tournament. But Yomi is also concerned, so he wants to train his son Shura for the tournament. Meanwhile, Yusuke visits Ryzen's grave, where he meets Enki and Koko, two of Ryzen's old sparring partners.
We thought he'd lost his mind, but maybe this was his intention all along, to change the way we lived.
Soon, other formal rivals of Ryzen arrive to mourn the dead Demon King, and guess what? They all wish to take part in the tournament. This dedication from other warriors motivates Yomi, and he decides to take part in the tournament himself. That's the spirit. The 11th episode takes us to the day of the tournament, which is officially called the Demon Realm Unification Tournament. Apparently, a total of 6,272 fighters have gathered to compete, and all of them are divided into multiple blocks. Only one fighter will win for their block and move ahead to further rounds. Fortunately, all of the main guys are placed in separate blocks, but shockingly, Yomi and his son Shura are placed in a similar block. It means that father and son will have to fight each other.
That's good news for us, Mr. Urameshi.
Don't ever say anything like that to me again.
This won't be good for the father-son relationship. Meanwhile, Botan and Koenma also put on their very subtle disguises and arrive in the demon realm to watch the tournament. The battles soon begin, and the main guys, including Hiei and Kurama, win their block. Apart from them, Mukuro, Enki, and Koko also advance to the next round. And of course, our boy Yusuke also wins his block by defeating all of his opponents. But now, it's time for Yomi and Shura to fight each other, which will definitely be awkward. The 12th episode continues with Yomi and Shura's match, and it seems like young Shura is truly a force to be reckoned with. The little dude surprises everyone with his incredible speed and surprise attacks, but hey, a father's a father for God's sake, so eventually, Yomi defeats Shura, and the little dude is left with no choice but to accept defeat.
I surrender to you, Father.
The preliminaries are finished. Yusuke gives a powerful speech and suggests that the demon realm should choose their ruler like this every few years. Dude's being political right now. Anyway, it's time for the main competition now, where every fighter will have to face each other one-on-one. And the first match is between Yusuke and Nekotama, a giant demon who can enlarge his body. Looks menacing, yeah, but Yusuke defeats the dude with a single powerful kick. All that build-up so we can taste dust with a single blow. The 13th episode rarely shows us any of the main guys. Instead, it shows us the fights of the former Dark Tournament fighters, who unfortunately lose their one-on-one fights. Shishiwakamaru loses against Hokushin despite trying really hard. Similarly, Jin loses his fight to a demon who proves much stronger and faster. Toya, on the other hand, almost fights on par with his opponent, but after a long, tiring battle, Toya loses the fight as well. The 14th episode kicks off with Kurama's match against Shigure. Yeah, the same guy who fought Hiei. Turns out, Mukuro received him as well. Regardless, the battle begins, and Kurama uses his rose whip, but Shigure destroys it with his weapon. After struggling for a while, Kurama transforms into his demon fox form so he can beat the enemy, but out of nowhere he transforms back into his human form.
What is he thinking? After taking the upper hand in the battle following his transformation, Kurama has suddenly deformed back into his less powerful self, and now he's just waiting there completely unguarded.
Interestingly, Kurama no longer wants to embrace his demon form and wants to win his battle as a human. Kurama then uses the memory recall seed to revive an ancient fossilized tree. Very quickly, the tree spreads massive roots and branches across the battlefield and traps Shigure. Naturally, Shigure tries to cut off the branches to find his way out, but the tree just surrounds him from every bloody corner. Eventually, Shigure accepts defeat and takes his own life by jumping from the arena. Dude, why?
A true swordsman can never lose twice. This is the only way, the honorable way.
It was a great match, and even Yomi is impressed that Kurama has won without using his Demon Fox ability. The 15th episode kicks off with the announcement of Hiei's fight, who will be going against Mukuro. Before the fight, Mukuro explains how she was sold into slavery as a child. However, she escaped and continued to become stronger and gain more influence. After that brief flashback, Hiei and Mukuro start fighting. Mukuro is so damn terrifying that she starts cutting the battlefield with an ability that slices through space. Hiei realizes he should match Mukuro's level and unleashes a massive dragon attack. The dragon is fearsome, and it carries Mukuro high into the sky, but Mukuro eventually tears the dragon apart. She then defeats Hiei with a powerful strike, and realizing that it's over, Hiei finally accepts defeat.
Now you don't have to be shackled to it anymore.
Ah, no. Sure, Hiei might have lost the fight, but he gained Mukuro's respect, so he takes that as a win and collapses. The 16th episode takes us straight into the next match, which is between Yusuke and Yomi. Right at the beginning, Yusuke unleashes his demon energy, but Yomi unleashes an even greater aura. Dude's aura farming like Jin Woo over here. Yomi is so confident about this fight that he even lets Yusuke punch him just to see what it feels like getting punched by Yusuke. That's sweet. But that's enough warm-up, and now Yomi starts to take things seriously and easily overwhelms Yusuke with his incredible power. While struggling, Yusuke hears Ryzen's voice, who reminds the boy of his heritage. Well, Yusuke now gets up on his feet and gets demon markings on his body. Surprisingly, Ryzen's blood has fully awakened inside Yusuke's body. Holy crap, that's really something! Yusuke now does something that breaks Yomi's powerful barrier. Apparently, while firing Spirit Gun, Yusuke mixes spirit energy with demon energy, something that nobody has ever done before. Like, ever. Finally, Yusuke hits Yomi with a massive Spirit Gun, but it doesn't kill or defeat Yomi. Instead, it excites him even more for the fight. The 17th episode continues with Yusuke and Yomi's fight. While Yusuke has awakened Ryzen's blood, he's still having a difficult time against Yomi. However, Yusuke refuses to just give up and thinks about his friends. In that moment of realization, Yusuke covers his fists with a blue energy that's different from both spirit and demon energy. Right then, both Yomi and Yusuke charge at each other with full force. And when the dust clears, only Yomi is left standing. Darn it! Later, Yusuke wakes up in a hospital and learns that even though Yomi won against him, he lost the tournament. Interestingly, Enki, one of Ryzen's old friends, won the tournament because Yomi was too bruised to take on anyone after Yusuke. Fortunately, Enki is actually a good dude who doesn't want any beef with the human realm. On top of that, he agreed to host another tournament 3 years later to decide the next ruler.
Things are going to start getting better around here.
Nice! After the tournament ends, everyone goes back to their normal life, and Koenma officially releases Yusuke from the spirit detective duties. Not gonna lie, I'm getting kind of emotional. The final episode of Yu Yu Hakusho shows us the aftermath of the Demon Realm tournament. Everyone is back to normal life, and Kuwabara learns that even Yusuke lost the fight against Yomi. Also, it's been 2 years since Kuwabara and Kurama even saw Yusuke. Apparently, Yusuke stayed back in the Demon Realm to settle some matters. Kuwabara and Kurama now join Keiko and Shizuru, and they all visit Genkai. Yusuke's master plans to leave her property to these guys after her death. After a while, Keiko thinks about why Yusuke hasn't returned, and the next moment, the idiot hero arrives to surprise everyone.
Yusuke!
Naturally, Keiko welcomes Yusuke back with a kiss. That's so cute. Alright guys, that's enough spirit detective stuff for me right now. Now, it's time for me to take care of my spirit by going to watch another amazing anime. Feel free to click on the link on screen here to watch another one of my videos, and in the meantime, peace!